Hello, Jacksonites, and welcome back to Super Kaiju Binge. It's been a while. My last episode was Gamera Rebirth in June or July of last year. But my last proper episode of Super Kaiju Binge, funny enough, was also an entry in the Monsterverse over 2 years ago. If you remember, our last episode was Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 1 in May, I believe, of 2024. It was also the last time I cut my hair. So it's a little ironic that, elements of that show are introduced that carry over in today's subject. So it's strange that we go from that and then we go to today's subject. But with the also return of Seanie Boy, also for the first time on Super Kaiju Binge since Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 1. Make yourself known.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It lagged out a little bit there. And also, Nick and I are wearing the exact same shirt, which is the very first time ever on his channel all the years. I was like, if I got to be talking about GVK, I have to bring out the shirt. It's an absolute must, and I do love the shirt. I also have the hoodie too, but it's summertime, so I figured I'd just wear the Team Godzilla shirt for the time being. But thanks for having me back on, sir. I've been in a bit of a Monsterverse kick for a little while. Monarch Season 2 just ended recently. We got Godzilla -0 coming out in a few months, and very soon we should be getting the trailer for Godzilla Kong Supernova. I've heard rumblings Comic-Con. If not, then they'll probably just drop it like November, December is my guess. But we're within the next couple months, we will finally see footage of this movie. Already stuff is coming out about like the Funko figures and all that other stuff right now. Space Godzilla, Kong's new Rage Gauntlet, as they're calling it. We'll get to that soon enough, but it's GVK time.
Alrighty, so returning back to the Monsterverse with a re-review of a film that I have reviewed before. Today, we will be having our re-evaluation of 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. Why, you may be asking? Well, maybe not you specifically, but you specifically, whom I know watches my reviews and criticizes me for re-reviewing stuff all the time. Not you, Sean, but you know who you are. Well, I'm doing this for a few reasons. One is, not going to lie, I'm very unhappy with my original review of Godzilla vs. Kong that I did back in 2023. I spent a vast majority of that review just viciously shitting all over and hating on this movie. I tried to rewatch it. It took me 3 times to rewatch my original review because so much of it I just could not stand listening to myself. Yeah, it was bad. I have seen the film a few more times since I reviewed it back in 2023. And I can happily say that the film has grown on me a fair bit, and my issues and sour feelings towards it have softened quite a bit, certainly. But also, there's a couple more reasons. A, I really regret doing it by myself back then. I really should have had either Sean in this case or Jackie Boy maybe, but then Jackie Boy went on and did his review of it for his show. And also, yeah, like Seanie Boy is saying, the dry spell that we've been sitting through since Godzilla X Kong came out in 2024 is starting to come to an end for a little while, because I haven't seen it. I have not seen Monarch season 2. So I do not know if that will be getting a review for Super Kaiju Binge. The odds at the moment,
you should, Nick.
I would if I had access to it, but I don't have access to it. So
Get a free
that,
trial and cancel it right afterwards.
yeah, that's things don't work that way. I'm sorry. I can't watch shows like that. Um, but anyway, yeah, I really regret doing the review by myself back in 2023. And the other reason is, like I said, my opinion of it has changed and softened quite a bit. And the third reason is, not gonna lie, this is a spoiler, but I want to do this video to maybe build up some hype for a future coming episode of Super Kaiju Binge. But yes, like Seanie Boy mentioned, pretty soon we will be having a fairly decent size influx of Godzilla content. Of course, Godzilla Minus Zero is coming out this November, which I will, come hell or high water, go see in theaters.
Oh,
And
I'm all set.
then Godzilla X Kong Supernova will be coming out in, was it March or May of
March.
next year? March.
It should be March.
And then, of course, too, we'll be having our new Godzilla G-Fest short film come out this November as well. So hopefully we can see Burning Millennium Goji go up against some kind of monster. That'd be cool.
The G-Fest short film? Am I missing something? Oh, I was thinking of the G-Fest in Chicago, which I'll be going to in 2 weeks. So
yeah, and I don't want to hear a damn word. Anyway, so I'm feeling Godzilla. I'm feeling the Monsterverse. I'm just feeling kaiju stuff right now. So I want to take advantage of this. And yes, fittingly, me and Seanie Boy are wearing the same Team Godzilla shirt, which Meadow very graciously got me back when this first came out.
We gotta do the Spider-Man
meme. So, yes, indeed, we will be discussing Godzilla versus Kong yet again. So, Sean, since it's been a while, what might possibly have been your personal history regarding this film?
Dude, Nick, I have been all in on the Monsterverse for many, many, many years. As you know, that's how you found my channel in the first place, because I did 30 Days of Godzilla. And this, my history is, I mean, obviously, I've been a big Godzilla fan my whole life. I've always wanted to see a rematch between Godzilla and Kong. Never would I have imagined it would form this whole crazy cinematic universe. We're already going to get like the third, fourth appearance of them together in something, which is, and now it's kind of crazy. Like after this movie, like they appeared in so many different collaborations, like video games, that they're just like they're a full on duo at this point, within like the Monsterverse and like anything kind of associated with it. And yeah, finally, after all this time. But yeah, I remember like reviewing Godzilla Awakening, the prequel to Godzilla 2014, and I noticed a King Kong Easter egg of sorts. I'm like, this looks like a Kong Easter egg. So, and I even mentioned in the video, I'm like, if they make a movie, then, you know, you can go back to this where it all started, which it ended up kind of being the case, because then they kind of teased like this Skull Island movie, which that footage eventually did release because they shot something at Comic-Con for it. That obviously was very different from the final film, but it was just kind of a proof of concept thing. And then when that was kind of showcased, I'm like, wait, are they actually going to do this? Are they actually going to have the team up or the battle that we've all wanted to see? And we can thank Thomas Tull for that, because he was a big fanboy at Legendary. He just wanted to see them fight. I mean, the guy also brought in like Guillermo del Toro for Pacific Rim. Yeah, like he was a big fanboy. That's who you want as a studio head, somebody who's just a big fanboy of all these other cool things and just wants to see him fight and all that other stuff. So, but he helps, like he's a major reason why we have this resurgence in kaiju stuff, because the Godzilla franchise went on a bit of a hiatus and pretty much kaiju films in general. We had like the occasional thing like Cloverfield, or the Kraken showing up in Clash of the Titans, or, you know, Peter Jackson's King Kong, which they're smaller base, but, you know, the creature feature kind of went away for a while until Pacific Rim came around, and then obviously the 2014 Godzilla film, and that proved to be a big, you know, financial success. And then that allowed them, okay, we're going to do King of the Monsters, but we're also going to do something with Kong. But that was at Universal, but they're like, let's move development over to another studio. And because of that, we had Kong Skull Island, and I remember seeing that movie, and then the post-credit scene for that happened. But actually, I think it was 2015 is when they officially announced it as the Monsterverse. I remember I was at like school and I was scrolling on my phone. I saw the big announcement where it was like a shared universe between Godzilla and Kong. I like dropped my phone or something in excitement. I have a video somewhere on my channel of me just talking about the news and just pure like giddy fanboy excitement because finally it was going to happen. And then, you know, we got Kong Skull Island. Really enjoyed that film. Godzilla King of the Monsters, obviously, I loved. I saw it maybe like 5 or 6 times in theaters. Actually, since I went to a screening last year for it, that would be like 6 times. It's like the most I've ever seen a movie in theaters, and I, you know, really love that movie. And then we had that that kind of end bit where it kind of showed the cave painting, and so we were definitely building towards this thing. Then the pandemic hit, and we had to like wait through the endless delays for this movie. I mean, Jesus Christ, the delays were killing us. They're like, where's the trailer? Where is it going to happen? When's it going to happen? I mean, you were there, Nick. Remember, we were just all getting so collectively frustrated at how many times this movie kept getting delayed, waiting for this damn trailer. And even like, I remember doing a stream on like Kaiju Network, like Ryan's channel. It was like for CCXP. There's like 2 seconds of footage of GBK. Like, oh, they just showed the footage. They just showed it. And we were going crazy. And then we got nothing else. And we just like lost one of the greatest live streams of all time, by the way. Very funny stuff in there. Like we hijacked their Facebook chat, and then everyone was just saying like stuff like Sean's wanted for war crimes and something. But I don't know. That's a storyline for another day. But then finally, I was like January, I think, of 2021. It was trailer day. I mean, one of the most viewed videos on my channel was a live stream. It was me, Kaiju Network, and Jack, and we just all like went ape shit over that trailer. When that trailer dropped, it was the most peaceful I'd ever seen the internet. It was like everyone just like breathed a collective sigh of relief. Like the world had been in a bad state for so long. And then finally, like, here comes this thing to just get everybody back in, excited about movie. It was the first bit of excitement in like a year after the misery that was 2020. And everyone was hyped, excited. It's the film that I say helped save movie theaters because it was the big thing that got people to kind of go back in. Yeah, we had to wear masks, and it was like 25% capacity and all that other like nonsense. Isn't it crazy to think that was a few years ago? We had to deal with all that bullshit. But yes, the movie finally came out. I think I saw it twice in theaters. They released it simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max, which, you know, like that worked for people who didn't want to go and see it in there. And plus, like I said, it helped the Monsterverse like keep going. And it was a fun time. Like it was just really cool to see all this stuff like happen. And then plus I could just go back home and watch it again endlessly as well. So yeah, I mean, I waited like my whole life for this movie, and it finally happened, and it was a blast. Sure, there's some flaws with it for sure that we can kind of go back on. And yeah, there's some things going into it from like King of the Monsters that are a bit of a downgrade in some ways, but it also like has some things it improves, like the action sequences. Well, we'll get to the pros and cons, but like obviously I think the fight sequences were done excellently in this thing. It was a big step up from the other Monsterverse films in terms of that. Like but yeah, I was just happy that this thing finally happened. And then it was just a matter of, is this it for the Monsterverse? And then thankfully it's been going strong ever since. And yeah, we got at least a few more years left with it for sure. So yeah, it's wild. Like this movie actually exists. I mean, if you would have told, I think the saddest thing is like kid me is so jealous right now that I didn't get to experience this like when I was a child. I think that's like my one regret about like the Monsterverse in a way is I couldn't have experienced this at like my peak like childhood like Godzilla craze with the VHS tapes and all that too. But I'm getting to experience it now, and because of this fandom, because of the Monsterverse in general, that's how we met too. Like honestly, that's how like the whole group got together in a way, was the resurgence of Godzilla stuff. Had they never made the 2014 film, had they never made any of that stuff, I would have never become aware of G-Fest because I wouldn't have made 30 Days of Godzilla. Obviously, I love the Godzilla franchise, been a fan my whole life, but I don't think I would have ever done that. And then I wouldn't have become aware of all these other things and all that. It kind of got me more involved in the community. Like, because like Nick had reached out to me, and then I was like, because like I was very hesitant to jump on streams of that because you know how crazy the internet can get. But then I'm very glad I did, because from Nick, then I met Jack. And then from that, I think I met Ryan after that. And then I met some of the others. Like, I think I met, who else? I don't even remember when I first met the others. Like, I remember when I first met you, and I remember when I first met Jack in person. but I don't remember when I met Ryan or Pierce and all that for the first time. And then I think there were some others in there, but it's hard to believe like we've been all like talking since like 2018. Now that I think about it.
Right. Alrighty. So a lot of what Seanie Boy just talked about, yeah, is 100% true. So I said this in my original review of this movie, but when it was announced that so of course growing up, big Godzilla fan, a big Kong fan, but even to this day, I very, very, very strongly prefer Godzilla over Kong. But when I finally did watch King Kong versus Godzilla when I was a kid, I enjoyed it, and then I didn't, and then I kind of enjoy it. But even back then, I was like, there really should be a new version of this. And as I grew older, and as other movies would come and go, and then the kaiju genre would enter its dark age for almost 10 years. Oh my god! Still
But you know
thinking
what, Nick?
about that time period still gives me like chills and Vietnam flashbacks of the
We're so
nights
spoiled
where,
nowadays.
yeah, of the nights where I literally would just sit at my computer and just bawl my eyes out, desperately wishing for something new. So yeah, when it was announced, Godzilla 2014 came out, and as we mentioned in our 2014 review, it was a huge breath of fresh air. It was a nice return of something that we had desperately begged for so long. But yeah, when it was announced that a Monsterverse would indeed be on the way, and specifically a rematch between Godzilla and Kong being on the way, when that was announced, I almost did not believe it. It just sounded way too good to be true. But you know what? Occasionally something comes around where something that does sound too good to be true turns out to be as true and as good as it sounds. Um, so Kong Skull Island came out, loved it. King of the Monsters came out, of course, loved it. And now we were, because I wasn't this movie originally supposed to come out in early 2020?
It was,
If
yeah, it
I'm
was
not
supposed to be like I think May or like November 2020. It got delayed because it got delayed to like November 2020 initially because they wanted time to work
Oh
on
yeah,
the
you're right.
of it.
You're right. Yep. More on that in just a minute. So yes, Sean was right. The Kaiju Squad collectively, it was me, Sean, Ryan, Jack, Trevor, and Pierce, and Justin at the time. All of us were collectively going insane when COVID hit, and the damn trailer just kept getting pushed back further and further and further and further. I too was like damn near having meltdowns, getting so annoyed and so irritated with just waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Because obviously, I like Warner Brothers; they're my favorite film studio, but they obviously have absolutely no issue with letting their fans just sit there in limbo.
Mm-hmm. You know, Nick, I just remembered something. I remember it just hit me as you were talking about waiting and waiting. I made like I did like a daily like meme thing until the trailer like got released on Twitter. I think I made like something like 30 or 40 like memes of just like little captions like you'll get the trailer or like me waiting for the trailer and just some like clip or something like that
I
from a
think
movie
I
or
remember a couple of those vaguely. Yeah. And then, yes, when the trailer for this movie finally dropped, me and Meadow had just gotten pregnant not too long beforehand, but me and Meadow stopped what we were doing when we got I think it was you who sent me the link, and we watched it on our TV in the living room, and both of us were just like,
that was me. Like when that "Here We Go" music hits, and then it's just like I still watch the trailer. I do because it
so do
puts
I. And, funny to this day, I think it might be the main trailer for Godzilla versus Kong might be the most viewed MonsterVerse trailer to this
oh
day.
yes, it is.
It has
It's the second most viewed.
110 million views.
That's
Dang.
insane. because like New Empire may have made more money, but the hype, it's Godzilla versus Kong. Like that initial showdown is going to have the most hype, and plus it came out like when there was nothing else coming out. There was like the first was
Yeah,
like, okay,
fuck all.
yeah, but I
Anyway,
also
so 110 million views, and at least 10 million of those views came from me because I would just rewatch the damn thing over and over and over again. So when it
we need Kong.
finally
The world needs him.
when it finally was released to the public, I did not see it in theaters. This to this day remains the only Monsterverse film that I have not seen in theaters. And it wasn't because I did not want to, it's because I
Fucking
was
lockdowns.
not able to.
Fucking lockdowns, man.
All of the theaters in my area at the time were still closed. Like they were closed, gathering dust for over 2 years because of COVID. So I did watch this movie when it debuted, the night it debuted on HBO Max. I had gotten home from work. I had showered. I got dinner and drinks ready for me and Meadow, and we sat our asses down. And as soon as it was uploaded, we started watching Godzilla versus Kong. And it was, even though it wasn't in theaters, it still was a pretty eye-opening movie experience. So,
If the cat wants out, make sure you open the door.
okay.
He's still up there.
I know. Excuse me.
All good. Sir.
And then I watched it one or two more times on HBO Max. Okay. And then I would watch a bunch of clips from the movie on YouTube, like on repeat. But then for a while, the movie just kind of sat there and stewed and simmered with me for a while. And in my original review that I did back in 2023, I did state this as being my least favorite Monsterverse movie. And that's because not too long after this movie was released, a whole bunch of people all over the internet were dissecting this movie and talking about what didn't make the final cut. You and Ryan were the main two contributors for this, but it was because of that I had another Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom effect go on for this movie, and I didn't hate the film, of course, because I did still think it was an entertaining film, but I just got really frustrated with this movie and just held it against the film about like what didn't make the final cut of the movie. So I just got done rewatching this movie about 2 or 3 hours. No, yeah, 2 or 3 hours ago for the first time since 2023. Or no, that's not true. Since 2024, I rewatched it a couple times leading up to the release of the next film. So 5 years after this film came out, I can say that my opinion of Godzilla versus Kong, yes, in many ways has improved on my original opinion. However, there are still some major issues with this movie that unfortunately do hold it back quite a bit. But it is still an entertaining as fuck monster movie, and nothing will ever, ever take that away from this movie. So, with all that being said, before we start on the plot, Godzilla vs. Kong is a 2021 American monster movie directed by Adam Wingard. Now, let's see. Adam Wingard is, of course, an American filmmaker whom I believe got his start doing a couple segments in the first two VHS films, one of which he himself starred in as the main character, Phase 1 Clinical Trials, in which you watch him get, from his eyes POV, you watch him get fucked.
He also made The Guest, which is a great movie, and You're Next.
Oh no, yeah, his first movie. I think that was his first movie. His first like full feature film was You're Next, the home invasion movie. Good movie.
I need to watch it again. I haven't seen it since theaters, but I remember being like an R-rated Home Alone, so I'll have to check it out. And
Yeah, that pretty much is what it is.
The Guest I saw more recently. His Death Note, Willem Dafoe's perfect as Ryuk, but the rest of it's pretty dumb. Blair Witch made me physically sick in the theater because of the shaky cam. Because I get motion sickness from FPS games and that's why I don't really play them. So like having that like full effect in a movie, like I felt physically ill. It was the first movie that ever made me do that. So congrats, Wingard. In regard to that. So
produced by Legendary Pictures and distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures.
Oh
it
yeah,
is a sequel to
I was gonna say one other thing before. I don't know if you're going to mention this and that, but does your stuff mention how this movie almost like there was a lawsuit almost between Legendary and Warner Brothers because they were just going to drop?
Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, let's discuss that too. During waiting for the damn trailer to be released, that lawsuit almost did come to fruition, and I was in Netflix's favor because purely for selfish reasons. I just wanted the damn movie. Give me the damn movie. Funny how 5 years later that may or may not come to be. Although I heard Paramount may.
No, Netflix lost a bit. Paramount's like almost finalized with it, which I don't want any of these companies fusing together. To be honest, I think it's better to have variety.
I agree, but I don't want Netflix having a major studio that puts out a lot of my favorite movies because Netflix is very anti-physical media. Moving on. Godzilla vs. Kong is a sequel to Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters, being the 4th film in the Monsterverse, the 36th film in the Godzilla franchise, and the 12th film in the King Kong franchise. And also is the 4th Godzilla film to be completely produced by an American film studio. In the film, Kong clashes with Godzilla after the Monarch organization moves the giant ape from Skull Island to the Hollow Earth, homeworld of the monsters known as Titans, and to retrieve a power source for a secret weapon intended to stop Godzilla's mysterious attacks. After being delayed from a November 2020 release date due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Godzilla vs. Kong was theatrically released internationally March 24th, 2021, and in the US on March 31st, where it was released on HBO Max simultaneously. The film received generally positive reviews from critics with praise for the visual effects and action sequences, but criticism towards the human characters. It broke several pandemic box office records and grossed $470 million worldwide against a production budget between $155 to $200 million. I'm more so inclined to believe the $200 million mark myself.
Because of the delays and everything.
Well, not just that, but this is a very effects-heavy film, so...
But New Empire had a lower budget and had a lot more monster effects, and that's the thing.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get to GXK. Making it the 8th highest grossing film of 2021. It was also a big streaming hit, becoming the most successful launch title in HBO Max's history, until it was soon overtaken by Mortal Kombat 2021. A sequel, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, also directed by Adam Wingard, was released March 29th in the year of our...
How can I get through it?
Don't trip. Sean, why don't you start off with the plot?
Oh, I don't have anything pulled up right here, so hang on a second, Nick. All right, let's pull this bitch up. All right, where are we at right here? All right, Godzilla vs. Kong.
Hang on, I'll be right back. I have some parental duties to attend to.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and read this whole synopsis here, everybody. Hello, welcome in. It's Sean with another edition of his ASMR Monsterverse, whatever the fuck we're calling this thing. So let's get started. 5 years after the three-headed dragon, like extraterrestrial, King Ghidorah awakened giant monsters known as Titans and was defeated by Godzilla. Kong is monitored by Monarch with a giant dome on Skull Island, which has been struck by perpetual storm. Gia, the last Iwi native and young adopted daughter of Kong expert Eileen Andrews, visits Kong. Gia is deaf and communicates using American Sign Language. Andrews grows concerned that the storm will eventually consume the island, but she dismisses ideas to move Kong to a new home, fearing that Godzilla will come for him once he leaves the island. Apex Cybernetics employee and Titan Conspiracy podcast host Bernie Hayes extracts data suggesting sinister activities at Apex's Pensacola facility. Godzilla suddenly attacks the facility, and Bernie stumbles on a massive device emitting a beacon during the rampage. Madison Russell, a listener to Bernie's podcast, enlists her friend Josh Valentine to investigate Godzilla's attacks. Apex CEO Walter Simmons recruits former Monarch scientist and Hollow Earth theorist Nathan Lind to guide a search for power source into the Hollow Earth, the Titan's homeworld. Lind is hesitant as his brother died in a previous expedition to the Hollow Earth due to a strong reverse gravitational effect. Now, in the original version, it was apparently his girlfriend / fiance who died in the attack, and there was no mention of his brother. This was a reshoot element that made it into the movie. Just wanted to let you all know. He agrees after Walter reveals that Apex has developed HEAVs, Hollow Earth anti-gravitational vehicles, specialized craft able to withstand the gravity field. Lind convinces Andrews to let Kong guide them via an entrance into Antarctica. Lind, Andrews, and an Apex team led by Walter's daughter, Maya, one of Walter Simmons' two daughters, by the way, both fine as hell, board a barge escorted by the U.S. Navy carrying a sedated and restrained Kong, which is, kind of funny in a way. Godzilla attacks the convoy, really great action sequence right there, and defeats Kong, then retreats after the ships trick him into thinking they are destroyed. Kong is airlifted to Hollow Earth, into the Hollow Earth entrance, and the team follows him into the tunnel in the HEAVs. Bernie joins Madison and Josh in their investigation. They sneak into the wrecked Apex base, discover a secret underground facility, and become locked into a Hyperloop transport to Apex's Hong Kong headquarters, where they find a test of Mechagodzilla, which is telepathically controlled by Ren Serizawa, the son of the late Ishiro Serizawa, via neural networks from severed head of King Ghidorah. Walter intends to harness the Hollow Earth's energy to overcome Mechagodzilla's power supply limitations. Inside the Hollow Earth, Kong and the team find an ecosystem similar to Skull Island, but a lot more expansive, in his species' ancestral throne room. They find the remains of an ancient war with Godzilla's kind and a glowing axe made from another of Godzilla's dorsal plates, identifying allegedly Godzilla could be another member of the species. Identifying the power source, the Apex team sends its signature back to their Hong Kong base. Despite Andrew's protest, attracted by Mechagodzilla's activation, Godzilla arrives in Hong Kong and, sensing Kong's presence, blasts a hole through the center of the fucking Earth. That was so goddamn ridiculous. I just had to stop when I watched him. Did he just drill a hole to the center of the fucking Earth? You know how many thousands of miles that is? That's a bit much even for me. With his atomic breath. After provoking him with gunfire, Maya and the Apex team's HEAV is crushed by Kong. Kong, Andrews, Gia, and Lind ascend to Hong Kong, where Kong engages Godzilla in a final battle. Godzilla emerges victorious, leaving Kong in a bradycardia state. Madison, Josh, and Bernie are caught by security and taken to Walter, who orders Ren to activate Mechagodzilla, now possessed by Ghidorah's consciousness. Mechagodzilla kills Walter Simmons, electrocutes Ren, attacks Hong Kong, and overpowers Godzilla. Lin revives the dying Kong by detonating the HEAV on his chest, acting like a defibrillator. Gia convinces Kong to help Godzilla, who is nearly killed before Kong saves him. As Mechagodzilla overpowers both Titans, Josh momentarily short-circuits Mechagodzilla's controls with Bernie's liquor. Godzilla charges Kong's axe with his atomic breath, allowing Kong to destroy Mechagodzilla. Madison, Bernie, and Josh reunite with Madison's father, Mark, while Godzilla and Kong acknowledge each other and go their separate ways. Sometime later, Monarch establishes an observation post in Hollow Earth where Kong now rules. Sometimes all I need is the air that I'm breathing to love you. And thus you end the movie with a happier ending for Kong. Finally, after 80, 90 goddamn years, this poor ape who has been through absolute hell gets a happy ending. I just wanted to give him a big old hug. That poor ape has suffered enough, and he finally
Not
gets
the
a
happiest ending.
not
That's
the
to
happiest.
come.
That is to come, but finally, right? That poor ape finally got something. So,
All right, I missed out on the whole plot.
yeah, that's fine. You've seen the movie. Actually, it was kind of good that I read this because it can add to one of my cons in the movie with something. But yes, go ahead. Plot. How about this plot, sir?
Well, pro number one is the good story and the good premise. This literally just occurred to me. So, a little spoiler for one of my mixed elements and my cons. I do have a couple issues with how kind of isolated this movie is from the rest of the franchise. But at the same time, in a similar way to Freddy versus Jason of all movies, I like that this movie it's called Godzilla versus Kong. And we see Godzilla versus Kong. It is a Godzilla versus Kong movie with an exception at the very end of the film, but we'll get to that later. This movie mostly just focuses on Godzilla and Kong. More so Kong, as we'll talk about later. But this movie knows what it's trying to be, and it knows what its audiences want to see. Like with how Freddy versus Jason is about Freddy versus Jason, this is Godzilla versus Kong. It's about Godzilla versus Kong. It's not
With a little Mechagodzilla.
like I said, slight exception. There's no dilly dallying. There's no beating around the bush. And the premise too, how it sets up Godzilla and Kong coming into conflict, I think is really well done and is very well executed. I like the setup. I like the reason why they have to move Kong from Skull Island to wherever else, because A, he's too big for Skull Island, but also B, Skull Island has kind of been rendered uninhabitable because of
The storm
the
system.
events of because of the superstorm system from Godzilla King of the Monsters. And also too, there are other reasons for moving Kong from Skull Island to the Hollow Earth specifically. A, possibly reuniting Kong with other members of his species, but also finding a new energy source for the surface world to take advantage of. But also there's some nefarious reasons that get the plot moving in a fairly organic way, in my opinion. But yeah, I like the story. I like the premise. The issues that I have with the story that we'll talk about later aside, also kind of in a similar way to something like Black Adam or maybe Peacemaker season 1, the fact that this movie is so isolated from the rest of the franchise is both good and bad. Mostly good though, in my opinion nowadays. Like I said, it's Godzilla versus Kong. It delivers on Godzilla versus Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Hashtag Team Godzilla, though. So yeah, that's my first pro right off the bat.
I totally agree with what you said, sir.
And before we continue,
just for the taste of it, Coke Zero. Chug, 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 chug.
No, it burns. Alrighty, your pros?
Honestly, Nick, I'm just going to wing a lot of this stuff, but pro number one for me is the action sequences. I think
you're just starting off big. Okay.
We're going right big into it because, I mean, you pretty much said the setup and all that. Like, I have nothing else really to add other than I agree. So you can count that as a pro for me or something like that. But I think this film has arguably the best action sequences in the entire like Godzilla franchise. I mean, Kong, you also have the Peter Jackson fights, which are really good as well, like in terms of Kong, but in terms of like pure Godzilla fight sequences, I don't know, I'm trying to think of anything that was better because you kind of have like really
Final Wars.
I think this one has better fights than Final Wars. I think maybe because there's more money on screen and you feel like the weight of the impact and all that. They're allowed to go a little bit more, and like in terms of the monster fights, I think they're allowed. They're allowed to like they had given they had the bigger budget and that they could make it look a little better. Let's be real with that regards. But I think like the fight scenes are very creative. They add new elements to it. I think the first fight is definitely inspired by Evangelion. With the big sea battle where Kong is jumping from aircraft carrier to aircraft carrier. That puts him at a bit of a disadvantage, obviously, because he's not a creature of the water, but the stakes are there. Like Godzilla is just wrecking shit like crazy. Like it's kind of, obviously it's very unrealistic to have them stand on top of an aircraft carrier and punch each other.
Who cares?
Exactly. My point, fuck you, it's awesome. Who cares? That's that's my takeaway. Like if something could be unrealistic as long as it's like, and I can suspend my disbelief for a lot of things, and I can what's the word I'm looking for? I don't care if it's unrealistic, it's awesome and it works in that regards. Like a prime example is the ending to Jaws. I don't care if it's unrealistic that you can shoot like you can't just shoot one of those things that's going to explode like that, right? We know that we've done it on Mythbusters, but you don't fucking care. But you don't care, right? You want to see that fucking shark blow up. That thing has caused enough problems. It works. It's suspenseful. It's intense. And sure, it's unrealistic, but who fucking cares?
It's cool.
It's cool. Yeah. Fuck you. It's awesome. That's always my thing. Like, yeah. Like that's my takeaway from it. Yeah, it's unrealistic, but fuck you. It's awesome. If you can give me something awesome, if you give me something stupid that takes me out of it, that's a whole different story. But if it fits in the fuck you, it's awesome category, then I don't care. You can be a little realistic, as long as it's like entertaining enough. So the first battle is really cool, creative, some different elements in there. The second one, technically they have 3, but then like 4.5 if you count Mechagodzilla or whatever. But then the Hong Kong battle happens, and it's just uninterrupted monster fights against the backdrop of the neon lit city. Now this is a criticism with the Monsterverse and like its first 2 entries, that Godzilla didn't fight in the daylight, everything was obscured by rain and everything else. This movie solves that problem. Your first big fight is during the day, and then the second one, yes, it's at nighttime, but it's very well lit. There's no cutting away to the humans. It's just the focus on the monsters and the crazy choreography. And, you know, the second fight, definitely Kong has a little bit of an advantage in some ways, using his agility in the buildings and all that too. Godzilla may spam his atomic breath a little bit much for my liking, but we get some nice callbacks to the 1962 film where he takes the axe and shoves it down his throat. And then when we get to like round 3, we get to see something I've never really seen Godzilla do. Well, first off, I also want to point out the fight scenes gave us like this iconic like image of Godzilla laughing. When he did it, I just lost it laughing really hard in the theater. But inevitably, it did lead to the big final thing where we see Godzilla go croc mode, which I've never seen him do, but I fucking loved it. Like it's like the most feral like he's ever been in a fight scene, at least in my opinion. Probably the most feral since like, because the fight scenes kind of changed over the course of this year. Like the first things with like Raids Again, it's definitely more animalistic. But as the series kind of went on, he kind of, obviously the more human element incorporated into like the suit acting with it. But I think I like that because it gives it makes the kaiju unique from just your typical like animals you'd see. But seeing him go full blown feral mode and just pissed off, like, no, you fucking asshole. I'm finishing this now. And then we get that great moment, which is on the cover of my thing where they're just kind of roaring at each other, and Godzilla just kind of like roars at him, Kong roars at him back in retaliation. He just kind of like accepts, like, okay, you know what, I'll let you live, but this fight was over before it started. So, and Godzilla won, which is what I wanted to see. But that's okay that Kong didn't win, because he gets the Rocky victory at the end of the movie. So you kind of get like, okay, you lost the big fight, which he should have lost in 1962. This is the clear winner. Godzilla's more powerful. That doesn't mean Kong's any less of a character. In fact, he's, like I said, he's the Rocky Balboa in a way. Like he goes the distance. He gives it his all. He has the heart. But he lost when he should have lost. So Godzilla just straight up wins. And it's great. This is what you want to see. So it delivered that. And then, of course, we get the big final fight with Mechagodzilla, which, you know, it's entertaining, but it's not quite as entertaining as some of the other stuff. But the fight sequences are so good. It did give me my beam clash though that I was talking about before this movie. I said we need a beam clash. That's my favorite part of the fight. Although that fight, I think Godzilla should have gotten a little bit more. We'll get to that when we get to the cons. But great action scenes regardless.
Alrighty. Pro number 2 for me is something that Sean touched upon. This is a little minor, but I don't think that this movie is quite as much as Godzilla King of the Monsters, but this movie is very colorful. It's mainly the Hong Kong battle between Godzilla and Kong that really showcases how colorful this movie is.
Mm-hmm.
When we enter the Hollow Earth through that vortex thingamajig,
mm-hmm.
There's a lot of psychedelic colors going through that. And the opening title sequence, too, does that, too, with all the psychedelic colors, which that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, how the city of Hong Kong is lit and how bright and colorful and flashy the movie is at that point is very pleasing to the eyes and is a lot of fun to watch. Mechagodzilla 2 also has a lot of colors. His proton scream beam attack is a bright, like kind of almost purplish red color. And all the wires coming out of the Ghidorah skull supercomputer is very vibrant and pretty to look at. Godzilla's atomic breath is a very vibrant, bright shade of blue, which really especially sticks out in the Hong Kong battle. It's a very neon bluish color. And the beam clash between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla looks really good too. There's a nice contrast between blue and red.
Mm-hmm.
The Hollow Earth itself, I think it's more colorful in the next movie. It's going to be really hard to not compare this film to the next movie, so I'm going to do my very best to not do so.
Right.
I do think it looks more colorful in the next movie, but still here, there's a lot of vibrant greens with all the trees and mountainscapes that are colored green. And there's a lot of vibrant shades of orange and yellow all throughout Hollow Earth. But when we enter Kong's temple, the vibrant shades of blue and the bright lightning flashes is also very appealing to look at. So yeah, this movie is pretty damn colorful, and I really dig it. And there's also really good use of setting suns. Watching Ultra retrospective on the YouTube channel Zagorudan, he's noted how a lot of times throughout the Ultraman franchise, whenever there's an episode where Ultraman fights a monster to the backdrop of a setting sun, it's always very visually striking and very visually appealing, and I have come to agree. Now, they did this with Kong Skull Island in the first place with all the Apocalypse Kong imagery, which looks really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like they carried that over somewhat in this film as well. During the fight at sea between Godzilla and Kong, it's set at a setting sun, so there's a lot of heavy oranges in the background. And when the movie ends, it ends on a rising sun against an ocean backdrop with Godzilla swimming back out into the ocean. And it's a very vibrant, again, very vibrantly orange and yellow, which is very appealing to look at. So, yeah, this movie is very pleasing to the eyes. It's very colorful, very vibrant, and just pretty. $155 to $200 million was spent well on this movie, and I think a good chunk of that just went to the lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I would agree. Visually, looks great. Ben Sarenstein was the cinematographer for this one. He made it look really good. That kind of goes into my next pro, and I want to say the effects. I think because of the delays, they had a lot more time to kind of work on this thing, and these are arguably the best looking effects in the Monsterverse. It's a toss up between this and Kong Skull Island, in my opinion. I think in terms of the Monsterverse, like best looking effects. I don't know. I think because they had more time to work on it. I mean, Kong just looks so seamless. We've perfected CGI in apes. Let's be real.
Definitely. The next movie too, also like even more so cements that.
Right. Although the next movie has a few iffy bits, but that's because they were kind of rushed in some of the effects departments in certain areas. Like the Rome stuff, like doesn't look quite as good. But yeah, I think the effects look fantastic. Kong just looks so seamless and real. Like you feel like he's there. You feel the weight of him when he's on screen. The way he's interacting with his environments. Like the use of atomic breath. Godzilla has some of his best like expressions on screen and all that. You can showcase that, and the mixture of like the neon lights of the city and everything. I don't know. I just think the effects look really fantastic from start to finish here. There you go. I mean, they just look really good. I'm not sure what else I could say because you kind of like brought up some good points of the way the movie looks and everything else. Like they kind of those two pros kind of mold together in a way. So no need to repeat everything you just said.
Pro number 3 is the Hollow Earth. I really like the Hollow Earth as a concept. There's a part of me that kind of feels like it's an extended, subtle homage to Journey to the Center of the Earth, which I don't know for sure if that is the case because they've been talking about the Hollow Earth since Kong Skull Island. But it's nice to finally like put a face to the picture. But I love how the Hollow Earth looks. It's very trippy, and there's aspects about it that are kind of like big questions, like how is there a sun under the earth?
It's the crystals. Wingard explained it was the crystals that light it
up. That's kind of what I figured. But we'll talk about that when we get to GXK. But it feels like a good, solid, like new environment for Kong to inhabit. We've done Skull Island about as much as we can possibly do for Kong, like just limiting him to a island in the middle of the ocean. So let's take Kong off of that and give him an entire planet's worth of an ecosystem to conquer and do battle with. And it's an excellent concept. And it feels like a great terrain and a great setting for Kong to flourish and thrive in, which is awesome. But also, too, it adds a lot more layers to the Monsterverse lore. And again, it's a whole new ecosystem for us to explore. And we could do so much amazing, entertaining, and captivating stuff with just the Hollow Earth alone. So yeah, I really like the Hollow Earth. I think it's an excellent concept. It's executed as a concept very well. It may be just a tad bit... what's the word? You might have a hard time suspending your disbelief from time to time because it just, how it's presented, it almost doesn't make sense with how planet Earth would be like created and made as a planet. It just almost feels like it doesn't make sense really to have this entire big giant ecosystem contained inside planet Earth, separate from the surface world. But suspend your disbelief. Like what Sean said, it's fucking cool. So who cares?
Fuck you.
So yeah, I really like the Hollow Earth. It's a great addition, great concept, and I love the future ideas and future plans with this concept that are entailing. So love it. Love the Hollow Earth.
All right. Well, Hollow Earth was one of my pros too. I mean, all these years we were kind of like building up the anticipation of what the Hollow Earth would look like. And then we finally saw it. And it's such a rich, beautiful landscape. And obviously between this movie and the next movie, we get to explore it a little bit more, but there's so many different types of environments you come across. I mean, you first go in there and like gravity kind of inverts itself into some unique ways. You can be kind of like walking up on here, but really like the ground's kind of down this way. You get like some areas where Kong is just kind of floating through the air. And it's like that famous like painting or whatever where he kind of reaches for something and all that. And then you kind of get like to the Temple of the Kongs and all that too. Like, who would have thought, like, when this Monsterverse began, there would be, like, a whole Temple of the Kongs? Like, that's so fascinating. I want to learn so much more about it. And, I mean, Hollow Earth's kind of one of my pros, but I also going to say some of the lore kind of adds as a result of that. Like, the Temple of the Kongs. What's the story of this axe? What's this thing? What's that thing? I mean, there's so many, like, infinite amounts of possibilities that you can have with this environment and storylines to kind of tell. Like I said, it's very Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth inspired, but on a kaiju size scale. And even going into the next film, there's like that whole like kaiju bridge. of like infinite size. Like, what the hell is that? They're even bigger than the Titans we have. Like, the Titans have their own Titans. That's that's almost like unfathomable in terms of scale for me to comprehend, because we're so used to the monsters being this size. I mean, but again, that's just another thing to kind of add to the overall like layer of this world and everything regarding it. So I find that very fascinating. But I really like the Hollow Earth and all the creatures it's got. I mean, I guess this kind of goes in my other pro, like Hollow Earth, and I guess some of the creatures that we get to see like within there. Like we get Titanus Doug, who was so popular that he got his own like page. Like I got this Monarch manual right here. Let me see if I can open it up. But when they get to the Hollow Earth Discovery, Doug literally has his own page. Let's see. Because he was just so popular and well liked. Let's see. Doug. I'm going to find it. Hang on. Oh, that's the next section right here. Oh. I'm getting there.
Which fun fact, real quick, regarding Titanus Doug, it has been confirmed by Adam Wingard that Doug is a phytodon or a photodon, however it's pronounced, but it is supposed to be the same kind of creature as the phytodon that we saw in Kong 2005, that four-legged reptilian creature that Anne comes across that gets killed by one of the V-Rexes. Just obviously a lot bigger and a different.
Well, I got his official profile here. Let's see what it says. Monarch classification, designation, classification, nature, biodunce, 65 feet tall, behavior protector. After the discovery of Hollow Earth, Monarch identified new super species almost daily. To thank the civilian enthusiasts dedicated to aiding the research around the world, Monarch Public Relations held a contest to name a new Titan species. The winning entry has been officially declassified as Titanus Doug, a scavenger that spends his days digging for rock claws in the magnetic sands of Hollow Earth's cadmium dust belt and lazily drifting down the liquid mercury rivers that wind through copper mosaic plateau. A thick skull cap protects his head from attacks by larger predators and the occasional tree he bumps into because of his poor eyesight. His short legs and webbed claws can launch his massive body out of rivers and onto land to surprise unsuspecting prey. Just 65 feet tall, Doug is officially the smallest Titan, but he has grown in popularity after a Monarch security video of Doug falling into a pit went viral. Titanus Doug, the little Titan who couldn't, with his googly eyes and lolling tongue, Doug makes all of Hollow Earth his playground after he finds his lunch, of course. Doug reminds me so much of Spike. He is Spike from Land Before Time as a Titan. That's the best way to describe him.
And steals food from Kong in the process, too.
Right. When I went to the GXK screening last year with a bunch of fans, like when Doug showed up on screen, everyone was like, Doug! Like, just the crowd went wild for him. I love Doug. I mean, he's only got like 2 scenes, but he's just so well liked. I am disappointed though when they had the toys of like him with Suka. I was expecting them to be like a duo, but lies. He needs to be back in Supernova. Doug just needs to be like the Titan that just annoys other monsters. Yeah, Doug is the Stanley as Starmaster would say there. So, but yeah, Hollow Earth's great, and all the creatures we got to see, like the Warbats and all that too. So.
This next pro has, I mean, I would put it as a mixed element, but coming away from this movie, I did think I have more positive feelings towards it now. So I'm going to put the cast as a pro, but it is a bit of a shaky pro, but nobody really gives a bad performance. This movie does have a pretty large ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm.
The film stars Alexander Skarsgård, Millie Bobby Brown, Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, Lance Reddick, Kyle Chandler, amongst others. But
and then Kaylee Hoddle is Gia, who's the best character, I'd say.
But yeah, I do like this film's cast. Alexander Skarsgård, of course, plays
Tarzan, and never mind.
Dr. Nathan Lind. I mean, I guess I would call him the main character of this movie, but I do like him. Skarsgård does a good job playing him. None of his dialogue or acting feels wooden or forced.
Right. He's a little bit. He's not the type of character you'd expect him to play, though, which I kind of liked.
Yeah, he's described as a reluctant hero who is not an alpha or a badass, and he's thrown into this very dangerous situation and is definitely not equipped for it. But Skarsgård called Nathan an homage to 80s movies like Indiana Jones, Romancing the Stone, Lethal Weapon, and Die Hard. And
Which
yeah,
you can
he
see
kind
the
of
Die
is.
Hard influence in this movie.
So
Like
what?
when Kong jumps off and got of the boat, that's a clear Die Hard homage with that shot there. So
Um, you can tell that Dr. Lind is a very intelligent man, but he's not a field man.
right.
And working with Kong out in the field, saving him from Godzilla, exploring Hollow Earth, he's very much out of his league, but he does his best to assist with his knowledge and his experience, and he does his best to adapt to every situation. I do like that he definitely uh, knows how to think on his feet, which
Mhm.
I've talked about many times. I really like characters that think on their feet, which is great, and they know how to adapt to their situations, which is really cool. So yeah, I like Dr. Lind. He's a likable character. Millie Bobby Brown, of course, returns as Madison Russell, and I
She's
have a couple issues. Team Godzilla is where I have issues with the cast, but we'll talk about that later. But Millie Bobby Brown, of course, does a good job. I like that she's a little more assertive and she's a little more
she's definitely
aggressive
right.
in defending Godzilla, and she's very hands-on. She's a doer. She's a go-getter. She doesn't just sit around and wait for a solution to present itself. She investigates matters on her own terms, and
Mhm.
she, of course, brings along people. One's in net positive, and one's a net negative. But
Mhm.
speaking of which, I do really like Brian Tyree Henry as Bernie Hayes. I've actually come to really appreciate Brian Tyree Henry as an actor in the last 10 years. I didn't know that he was the dad in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, but upon seeing this movie, I went back to that and realized, oh, yeah, that is the same guy. He's really good in Bullet Train. He's really good in the next movie. He's good in the Spider-Verse movies. And at first, I was a little shaky on whether or not I would have liked him in this movie, but no, I like Bernie. He's funny.
Mhm.
He has a very quick wit. He too kind of thinks on his feet. He's also very intelligent, but he's also a bit dense and dim-witted. But also, he is a little sympathetic because I think it's either this movie or the next movie that explains a big reason why he's going undercover at Apex is so that he can find some kind of purpose and also a little bit of avengement following the death of his wife.
Mhm.
Um, but the main thing I take away from Bernie is that he is funny. And actually, that could be an added pro to this movie is that there is some humor, but
Mhm.
most of it just comes from Brian Tyree Henry. Oh, great. I got to die with you and sober. um, and also, ah! Sorry. It's just so massive. It's so stupid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
he does
like
get
Bernie.
funnier in the
He's
next
funny.
movie, though. I just think in general the movie after this one is a little bit funnier. But
For more reason than one. But yeah, he is funny.
mhm.
Let's see. Oh, and of course we have what's her name? Rebecca Hall as Dr. Eileen Andrews, a monarch anthropological linguist, and also Gia's adoptive mother. Oh, this was her first project after her pregnancy. Hall described Eileen as the Jane Goodall of Kong. I think that's a pretty
Mhm.
fitting description, but I like her too. Kind of like Madison for Godzilla. She is that equivalent for Kong. She's very aggressive and adamant about protecting Kong, making sure Kong's needs are taken care of, and just being there by his side for anything and everything he needs or wants. Oh, wait, who? Brian or Alexander? But I don't care about the Batman 2. We're not talking about that. I don't have a whole lot to say because I actually do think she is better in the next movie. But Rebecca gives a great performance. All her dialogue and all her acting feels very natural, well written, and well delivered. Her bond with Gia is, again, better in the next movie, but still very believable in this film. She has good chemistry with Gia. She has good chemistry with Nathan. Overall, yeah, I like Rebecca as Eileen. It's a little hard to say her name, but yeah, I do think the cast is pretty solid for the most part. There are a couple returning actors, Kyle Chandler from King of the Monsters, although that's kind of an issue that I have with this movie. We'll get to that later. Yeah, I like the film's cast. It's fairly solid. Some could say that a criticism for this movie is that the human cast is kind of here just to get the plot from point A to point B. And I do agree with that. But unlike other films where the cast suffers from that problem, at least the cast here is still likable, entertaining, and engaging. So there is that. So yeah, I like the film's cast.
Okay, well, adding on to that, I want to add my next pro, and I think it's Gia. I think Gia is one of the best like kid characters in the entire like Godzilla franchise. As he gets to walk away, as soon as I start talking, he just disappears.
I'm opening my window.
Oh, okay. Probably farted in there. That's what I'm thinking. Just got to open up, air it out. So, but yeah, kind of adding on to what he said, I do think the cast overall is pretty solid. I think, there's a lot in terms of characters in here. I mean, we didn't get to not every cast member is like all that, I guess, great per se, but some of them were just kind of there to kind of pad it out a little bit, if we're being honest. But yeah, Gia, I think is the best human character in this movie. I especially love the bond she has with Kong. And I think it's really sweet and touching. It's kind of taking the whole, because typically with Kong in years past, it was like a Beauty and Beast sort of thing. But now it's kind of more of like he's like a father figure of sorts to her, like a loving protector of that. And I have to get to my next pro, Nick, and that's going to be Kong, because like these two are kind of linked together. I think what Wingard did with Kong as a character is the best characterization he's ever had. I mean, we really flesh him out. We evolve him a lot more. We finally have moved on from the whole like Beauty and Beast sort of tragedy. Now Kong legit goes on a hero's journey between this film and the next film, which is really insane to think about for a giant like monster like movie character. But his design is great. I like how he's kind of like a little bit like older, like bulked up in size substantially. He's very expressive, very emotive, but he's also a loving protector of like Gia and those around him. And despite like the struggles he goes through, he continues to fight for what is right. And I like the journey he goes on. I like the fact that we've evolved him to where he can speak sign language, which is something I thought they should have done many years ago, which is like, wow, yes, this. We're taking this icon from like so many, like from all the way from the 1930s and fleshing him out a little bit more, giving a little bit more personality, involving his intelligence, and like seeing him go on his like hero's journey. But he's also like a great fighter in ways. He thinks on his feet. Like even when he's like in a really like unwinnable sort of situation, when he's on the aircraft carrier, he's looking around for things that he could use as weapons. Like he'll jump from one to the other. And he likes, that's a lot of fish. As he's sitting there smiling and doing his weird thing right there. But yeah, like he thinks on his feet, like he's using things as a weapon. He's jumping from point A to point B, but he's also trying to think of ways to avert risk and all that too. I like the fact that he goes on this journey, like where he's not sure about what's going to happen. He actually has to go into like the Hollow Earth for the first time. And I just love watching him discover things, especially that moment where he's just kind of like, what I do, I like the quieter moments in this movie when it's going on Kong on his journey. I do think the Team Kong stuff is more interesting than the Team Godzilla stuff in this film. But yeah, when he goes and he has a discovery, like he puts his hands out to kind of like take a leap of faith for the first time. When he's discovering stuff about his past and like his ancestors going into the temple and retrieving that axe, which, you know, the axe is kind of a pro for me, but it's kind of mixed in with the whole Kong thing and the journey he goes on to achieve that, and the fact that he'll do something like put it in the ground, learn that it powers up. He learns he adapts to fight sequences with all that too. The fact that he gets to sit on his little throne room right there is pretty awesome. I do wonder if in Supernova they'll, now that they're kind of out of this, have an access point out of the subterranean realm, if they'll return to the Temple of the Kongs. Maybe not, or they'll just kind of find a whole other like territory or something in general. But I don't know, because
it's kind of hard to, because it seemed like it got pretty messed up in this movie.
Right, but you know, they could always check that out or something like that now that they're free from their own subterranean realm. But I like too, even when he loses the fight against Godzilla, he never backs down. Like as they say, Kong bows to nobody, and he shows heart that even Godzilla by the end is kind of inspired by it too. But even after everything he's been through, where Godzilla basically killed him, he still goes to help him out in the end. That shows like his maturity. That shows he's like a true like hero's journey in this sort of moment. I like the fact that he gets the final blow against Mechagodzilla. Yes, obviously Godzilla's beaten Mechagodzilla plenty of times. Let Kong have this one. He lost the fight against Godzilla, and you know it's the team up with them too. But even then, like I like how it showcases Godzilla's intelligence during that sequence too, where he sees he's got the axe. He's like, okay, I'm going to charge it up as well too. Like that shows he's a lot smarter than a lot of people kind of give him credit for. But again, Kong's intelligence, he's a character who cares, like the fact that he has this really strong bond with Gia. I like to think, like based on what happened in the Skull Island anime series, which you know takes place before this, like after Kong lost his one friend, he became very protective of Gia because he knows like what happens if he kind of like loses that focus and all that too. But yeah, like I mean, Kong's just a great character in these films. Like he has so much heart and personality to him. Like you know what he's thinking. You can see his emotions. He can speak sign language now. He like forges weapons or like retrieves weapons and kind of battles things and that too. And even though like Godzilla did all that damage to him, basically killing him, he still went and saved him. Like that just goes to show like the heart he has as a character to kind of do what's right, even when he's been wronged himself. So yeah, I love Kong in this thing. This is the best characterization he's ever had. And you don't got to give Wingard credit for that. He really did a good job with Kong's character.
Okay, yeah, that is my next pro is Kong himself. He is the highlight of the whole movie. If you are a fan of King Kong and if you are Team Kong, this is a very, very strong film for you. Now, again, I am very strongly Team Godzilla, obviously, but I can't appreciate another monster being done well and being made into an engaging character. And Kong very much so is in this movie. I do like that they establish very early on in a kind of a subtle way that this still is the same Kong that we saw back in 1973 in Kong Skull Island when he uproots that tree and makes it into a javelin, just like how he did in Kong Skull Island. Now, granted, he may not look. There's a couple shots in the movie where it does look like the same Kong still, just older and much larger with a beard. Namely at the end, like right before he puts his arm back in his shoulder and goes to fight Mechagodzilla. But even though Kong looks quite a bit different, it still is the same character. And when this movie first came out, I described him as a jolly old man. And I wouldn't exactly say he's an old man, but he is obviously a lot older, more grizzled and more experienced. And while I said this to Sean, Kong Skull Island is still my favorite Kong film. I prefer Kong as this incarnation of the character. Well, Monsterverse Kong, I think, is the best Kong of the whole kaiju genre. But Kong as he is in this movie and the next movie, this is my favorite version of Kong. Yeah, I do agree that his design looks really great. So behind the scenes, real quick, to talk about the effects. First of all, they kind of modeled his beard after how Adam Wingard's looks. Same for Jordan Vogt Roberts, just a little bit. But they bulked him up quite a bit in terms of his muscle mass. Like, he was muscular in Kong Skull Island, but he was covered by a lot more hair, so you couldn't see as much. But also, he was a lot younger. If Kong, so you're comparing him to Rocky. If Kong in Kong Skull Island was Rocky in Rockies 1 and 2, like that physique for Stallone, Kong in this movie is Stallone's physique in something like Cliffhanger or Rambo 2008. He's a big, buff, muscular, badass dude. And also another fun fact, if you remember how I mentioned the CG model for Kong in Kong Skull Island had a whopping 19 million hairs individually drawn over the entire CG model. In this movie, the number was quite drastically cut down to a mere 6.3 million hairs. Still, having to painstakingly draw every single one of those surely was a nightmare. But yeah, Kong as a character is fantastic. Even though he doesn't talk and he only does sign language one time, which is a excellent concept, and I hope that Supernova does a lot more with that concept. You can tell exactly what Kong is thinking and feeling purely through his facial expressions. His eyes are very expressive. His face is very expressive. That kind of goes into the effects, but I just want to talk about him as a character. Yeah, it's very well done. It's very believable. Kong's character has been perfected in this movie and the next movie, in my opinion. He's a full-fledged 3D character. You feel angry when he's angry. You feel sad when he's sad. You feel sorry for him when it's necessary. You root him on when he is being a big badass. And while yes, I am Team Kong, or I'm Team Godzilla, I do want to see Kong put up a strong fight against his foes. And man, does he put up a fight against his foes. When it comes to low level, it's stated in one of the Monsterverse comics that, like, I think it was in Kingdom Kong, he'd gotten so big that even skull crawlers the same size as the Skull Devil that he fought at the end of Kong Skull Island were barely an issue for him at this point. And I think that's pretty what is it? I think that's pretty well showcased, and how easily he takes out the Warbat with slight assistance from the Heave. But well, I'll talk about that when we get to the action scenes. But he also does have a slight sense of humor, one of which is when he takes that large pile of fish and he's got that shit-eating grin on his face when he's chewing them up.
That's a lot of fish.
Yeah, that is a lot of fish. But also when he first wakes up and he goes to his morning shower, he scratches his ass.
Yes. I love how the opening is just Shrek.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, just minus him taking a shit.
I was so surprised when I first saw it too, because I'm like, this is very casual for Kong. I would not have expected that to be the opening at Godzilla versus Kong, where just him waking up, stretching, scratching his ass, taking a nice shower, and just kind of living a nice nap, but then also come to the realization that he's stuck in this like biodome, basically.
Virtual reality hell. So yeah, Kong as a character is absolutely fantastic, and as a badass giant monster, he is entertaining as hell to watch. We'll talk about that when I get to the action scenes. But yeah, I shirk. Kong is awesome, and I would have to agree. I hate to admit this because I am Team Godzilla, but whenever the film is focusing on Kong, that's the side of the movie that is way more engaging. The next movie has that problem and con, or pro and con as well. But yeah, Kong is awesome.
All right. Guess I got to get another pro in the way. A character who's with me right now, Mr. Godzilla himself.
That's my next pro.
I mean,
the next pro for me is Godzilla.
It's a pro, but there's also a slight con with it that we get into that in terms of the characterization carryover from King of the Monsters. But at the same time, it is fun to see this version of Godzilla cause a lot of destruction because we didn't really get to see that with the other films. He was more of a benevolent kind of samurai-like character, but this time he gets to go crazy, destroy like some ships. He is so fucking powerful that he somehow drills a hole into the center of the fucking earth somehow, which I still don't understand. I don't know how that all worked. That's the one moment where even for me, like the fuck you, that's awesome. It gets a little questionable with some of the logic
Adam
gaps.
Wingard stated, or I think it was Adam Wingard or somebody else. The reason why he was able to do that is from when Mechagodzilla was brought online, like when he stopped in the middle of the ocean, he turned around, he had been charging up his atomic breath that entire time. And the sun was setting during that point. And by the time he gets to Hong Kong, it's nighttime. So presumably it had been 3, 4, maybe 5 hours of him charging up his atomic breath. So that's how he's finally able to unleash all that atomic power to the center of the earth.
Still insane. Like I feel like how many hundreds of miles did that thing go? That felt like a Dragon Ball Z energy blast there, where it just keeps going and going and going. But yeah, I mean, Godzilla has a lot of personality. Even like he's very pissed off throughout this entire movie, which can be a little bit fun. Godzilla's a dick this movie, but you do kind of lose that like subtle characterization from King of the Monsters, which is also kind of a bit of a con there, but which I'm just kind of giving away right now. I might as well since I'm talking about Godzilla. But you get to showcase a lot of his strength and abilities. He fights really well. I think seeing him go full-blown croc mode was really awesome. But you also get to see some of that intelligence, too. Like when Godzilla has Kong in this position, Godzilla knows what the axe is capable of after kind of taking it to the head and everything. He sees it, and he's like, you know what? He does the smart thing, because he knows he doesn't have the full energy to fight Mechagodzilla at this point, because he burnt himself out too much. So he fires what he has into the axe and powers that up, so that way he can kind of get the job done. And he kind of learns things too. He's like, okay, I'm the king right here, but I also don't like that axe, so I'm gonna let you have this moment. But he also shows a little bit of maturity too towards the end of the fight, where he's just like, or at the end of the movie, where he kind of roars at Kong, and he has to assert himself as king of the monsters, but at the same time, he's just like, all right, well, you threw down that axe, we're good to go. Just don't bother coming in my territory again, or there will be fists. So, and I do like too that even after like Kong, loses like the big final fight, he shows respect to him in a way where he doesn't just full-blown kiss of death him. He just kind of like looks down, is like, all right, you know what, I'll let you have that moment. I'm just gonna walk away, but and let you die in peace. So I kind of like that little respect, like that Kong earns his respect by the end of the fight. So, and plus, like I said, Godzilla is just awesome, just doing Godzilla stuff. It's fun to watch him blow stuff up. It's fun to watch him fight other monsters and all sorts of different things, and especially getting to go toe to toe with Kong in this thing. He definitely spams his atomic breath way more than anticipated. It's funny, Nick, when we go from like 2014, where he only uses the atomic breath like once or twice, and it's very weak, and then going into this film where it's able to drill into the center of the fucking earth. It's kind of crazy. Like, we've just really jumped the shark by the time we got to
there are some in-universe explanations for that. As we talked about when we reviewed 2014, when Godzilla fights the Muto specifically, their EMP abilities do interfere with his atomic breath, and they do weaken it.
Yes, I'm aware of that one.
But also you could state, or not really state, but you could glean that the effects of Serizawa detonating that nuke in his face in King of the Monsters, like the effects weren't just for him turning into burning Godzilla. Some of the strengthening effects were permanent. So his atomic breath got stronger just by taking a nuke to the face. So that's how he's able to be a lot more of a quick draw artist with his atomic breath. But also, like I just mentioned, he had been charging his atomic breath for quite a long time, so he's got a lot of power in reserve to spam his atomic breath.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, go on ahead. I mean, it's Godzilla. He's like my favorite character, one of them for sure. I'm literally wearing a Team Godzilla shirt here, and plus, he fucking won. So suck it, Kong fans. Just kidding. I love Kong, but Godzilla needed to win this fight because, like, for many years, this fucking debate went on over and over again, and then I think that's Adam Wingard said the main reason he won this, he wanted to make this movie was to settle like an old schoolyard fight of sorts, like debate between him and someone from his childhood. Like Godzilla would absolutely defeat Kong, and he got to make the movie. He got to settle this debate once and for all, who would win, and Godzilla won. But Kong won the hearts of us all in this movie. So, and it works out. Like I said, it's the Rocky victories. Like, yeah, he may have lost the fight there. Godzilla is the stronger one, but Kong is more agile. He's more intelligent, as we showcased with his cognitive abilities, and he's also a little bit more mature in some ways, and I guess a little bit more heroic too, because Godzilla, you know, like it's his way or the highway. Kong has a little bit more empathy because he's like more closer to humans in that regards. But yeah, so like I said, Godzilla's just awesome in this movie. Like I said, it's cool to see him do some destructive stuff. But yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, pro number 6 for me is Godzilla. I have some problems, probably the same ones or similar ones that Sean has, but Godzilla's still awesome in this movie. Watching him now, I've come to accept that yes, while I prefer Godzilla as a hero or an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it is cool just to watch Godzilla be an asshole and fuck shit up.
Right.
And watching him fuck shit up in this movie is entertaining. And of course, as the movie goes on, we do discover that there is a reason. And I like that that's something that Madison brings up, is that Godzilla should not be attacking just for no reason. There's got to be something that's setting off this behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel, well, that's part of the inconsistencies. I don't like what's the dad's name?
Mark.
I don't like what Mark says, that animals like people can change. I don't really think that's applicable because Godzilla doesn't have cognitive abilities like a human exactly. So I don't really think that fits. But
right, and plus, like, it feels inconsistent with Mark from the previous film in a way.
As we'll talk about. But yeah, Godzilla's still awesome. When he attacks Pensacola, Florida, it's really cool. It's very explosive, and you're just like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? So of course, he's entertaining to watch. When he just tear asses his way to fuck Kong up, of course, he's a lot of fun to watch. It's kind of hard to talk about Godzilla and Kong without talking about the action scenes, but yeah, he's fun to watch there too. Actually, no, let's just get into this because it's kind of hard not to. Pro number 7 for me is this movie does have some fantastic action scenes. Yes, I would have to agree with Sean. I don't know. I still think the fight scenes in Godzilla Final Wars are more bombastic and explosive, and I just think a little more entertaining. But I would probably say for the Monsterverse at least, especially when we have a monster that is very human-like. So I guess maybe this is the closest we'll ever see to an Ultraman versus Godzilla fight. But
how you doing, Jack? He's in the
comments. Oh, hey, Jackie boy.
And Bear.
Nikita.
He says Bear, so
lost track. Oh yeah. So the action scenes are all very, very well done. And actually, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. They're the best of the Monsterverse.
There you go.
Very slightly, because I still love the monster action in King of the Monsters. But like we mentioned in our King of the Monsters review, there's really epic kaiju moments in that film. but for isolated specific monster versus monster fights, I think Godzilla versus Kong is a little bit better.
Right, because things are a little bit too obscured in some ways, and because of like
No, okay. I don't think that's a valid criticism because every Monsterverse movie, the fights are obscured by something in some way every time.
I
With the smoke and the
disagree.
darkness in 2014, with the fire and splashing water in Kong Skull Island, with the rain and wind and lightning in King of the Monsters, and with the smoke and dust and explosions in GBK and GXK. All
I don't
the
know,
fight
'cause-
scenes are obscured in some way. Moving
well,
on.
I don't know. I thought these were much clearer to see.
Pardon the background noise if you can hear Roman.
Right.
So we have there's this movie's chock full of action. We have Godzilla's attack on the Apex facility in Pensacola, which is really cool.
Mhm.
Feels like a bit of a slight homage to the
Monster
original
versus Godzilla.
King Kong versus Godzilla when he attacks that Russian base in the Arctic. Which is really cool, really colorful, very explosive, very
The
entertaining.
next movie
and
pays tribute to that too when he breaks out of the ice in his evolved form.
Where is that too? I just now realized that. Then we have Godzilla and Kong's first battle. First time that these two had seen each other in 59 years at 41 minutes and 10 seconds into the film. And the first fight between Godzilla and Kong is really, really entertaining. I do somewhat appreciate the homages to Neon Genesis Evangelion, even though I don't like that show. I can still appreciate that for what it is. And again, kind of similar to Freddy versus Jason, I do like that they established that there are clear differences in each monster's fighting style, and they accentuate their strengths and weaknesses. In the middle of the ocean, this is all Godzilla's terrain.
You can't win.
Sure, yes, he does put up a fight as best as he can, but he is very much so out of his league and out of his element pretty much the whole time. Now, the second fight, well, actually, let me get to that too. Then when we enter the Hollow Earth, we have that brief skirmish with Kong fighting the Warbats, which is awesome. I kind of wish that that fight was a little longer and there was a couple other monsters he could have fought, but how he fucks up the Warbats is always entertaining. Grabs a hold of one, yanks it by its tail, and just impales it through its skull with a sharp rock. I don't know 100% if the second Warbat would have completely finished Kong off, because I kind of feel like he could have bitten through the Warbat's wings. He probably would have had.
You know what those wings reminded me of? You ever see Jeepers Creepers where the creeper has somebody in his wings?
That was from part 2. Yeah.
Yeah, part 2. That reminded me of that.
I can say that now that you just mentioned it. But I love how he gives no shits killing off the second Warbat. He crushes its wings, and then slams it all over the fucking place, and then finishes it off by just ripping off its fucking head, and then eating the contents of its skull. Let's see. Then we have round 2 in Hong Kong between Godzilla and Kong, and now the two are on equal footing. And you could argue it's a bit more analogous to Freddy versus Jason, when Jason and Freddy are in the real world. Godzilla, of course, is the big, giant juggernaut tank. He's got a ranged weapon. He's larger. He's stronger. He's got his tail. He's got his claws. But Kong just throws everything he's got into taking on Godzilla. He is quite strong in his own right, too. He's more intelligent, he's faster, and he's much more agile. And I really like how they... I like how they very clearly show who's the stronger monster just in that first opening scene for the fight at sea. Godzilla or Kong sucker punches Godzilla and like gives him a nice shiner, but then Godzilla just bitch slaps him and sends Kong splat on his ass. And I feel like Kong was able to return somewhat of a favor in the next movie, but we'll talk about that.
To be fair, I was on Kong's side there. Godzilla could have used like a little bit of like pummeling because he was trying to get him to help, and then like Godzilla just asshole.
Oh, I wasn't talking about the Egypt fight. I was talking about the against Scar King, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like we're just get a little bit in the next movie to Godzilla.
Well, there it's effective too, but he also was using his beast glove. So
Right.
anyway, yeah, still round 2 and even round 3, the two are on equal footing, literally and figuratively. The third round between Godzilla and Kong is a little short, but it's also still entertaining because of how vicious and gnarly it is.
You know, can I say one thing too, Nick? I guess originally the plan was they just couldn't figure out how to crack it. The second fight was actually supposed to take place in the throne room, but then they couldn't figure out how to get him back from the throne room into Hong Kong, so they just kind of broke up the Hong Kong fight into 2 parts.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
But yeah, I would have to agree. Probably since the first time since Godzilla Raids Again, we've seen Godzilla be this vicious and feral. He goes full-blown 4-legged crocodile going after Kong. Kong still does put up a fight. Like, he gives Godzilla another sucker punch across his face. And like puts him in a headlock and punches him in his oh yeah, Kong's able to stab Godzilla with his axe during round 2, but to like pour salt in the wound, he punches Godzilla in his wound in his leg, making Godzilla recoil in pain. But at this point, Godzilla is like, okay, you little bastard, I'm done.
Playtime's over.
Dislocates Kong's arm, slices up his chest with his claws, and crushes his chest by putting all of his weight onto Kong's chest with just 1 foot. And I do appreciate and love, that's one thing I was really, really, really hoping for leading up to the release of this movie. I wanted a definitive winner, but I ain't gonna lie, I wanted Godzilla to win.
I mean,
and I like how they pull off a victory in this movie. Kong doesn't die, but he is defeated. He put up a fight, and he gave it his all, and that's another thing I wanted. Even if Kong loses, I do still want him to put up a fight. But yeah, I just wanted Kong or Godzilla to win, and he does.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And then, of course, the final action scene is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and then Godzilla and Kong versus Mechagodzilla. But we'll talk about that later. I will say that, yes, it is entertaining, but I have too many problems with it to fully appreciate how entertaining it is. But yeah, this movie is chock full of action. Again, if you're here for the monster action, and if you're here for the Godzilla and Kong action, you will not be disappointed because it delivers 150 million%. Love it.
All right. Well, we talked about Kong. We talked about Godzilla. How about we talk about Mechagodzilla?
That's my next pro. Pro number 8 is Mechagodzilla. First time we'd seen Mechagodzilla. Just discounting the anime trilogy. First time
Ready Player One
since and Ready Player One. First time we'd seen Mechagodzilla in a Godzilla movie since 2003.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see him back. Now, this isn't my favorite design. This is it's tough because I like a lot of the abilities he has. It's very uniquely different from the other iterations of the character we've seen before. It's very distinctly Monsterverse. His face kind of reminds me of Goddard from like Jimmy Neutron. I know it's kind of a weird thing to say, but like just with the mouth and just kind of the head turn and everything too. I like his abilities that he has. I like his atomic breath sort of thing, like the proton laser.
Proton scream.
Yeah, the proton scream, whatever they call it. I like how it's powered up by the skull of King Ghidorah, which when we get the post-credit scene from King of the Monsters, this is not what I expected them to utilize the Ghidorah skull for. It's kind of bizarre. They do say something about a second skull being in Mechagodzilla, like that.
It's theorized by Bernie, but the novelization of Godzilla versus Kong does confirm that there is a second Ghidorah skull inside the skull of Mechagodzilla.
Where did the second skull come from?
They probably recovered that from. No, wait a minute. Yeah, actually, that is a good question.
Unless they created,
unless Godzilla, like when he fired his atomic breath at the end of King of the Monsters, it didn't incinerate the head; it just shot it out of his mouth.
Or unless, here's a theory. I can think of how to explain it. Because you know how in this movie they scanned like the Hollow Earth stuff and it just uploads like an energy sample recreator thing or whatever they fucking do to recreate the power source. I think they could do that with the skull and just kind of recreate that energy signature.
3D printed the skull.
There you go. That's how they did it.
The thing that Ren sits in, that's the 3D printed skull, but the real skull is in Mechagodzilla.
Yeah, you could do that, or like the 3D ones in there or something. I don't know. Like I'd have to think how it would work, but that's
also the novelization does confirm that Mechagodzilla was like his consciousness was taken over by the consciousness of King Ghidorah. So I kind of feel like you wouldn't have been able to do that with the 3D printed skull.
Yeah, somebody says in the comments, I don't remember the novel saying there's another skull. I didn't read the novelization of it. I should read
There's a lot of inconsistencies between the novelizations and the movies, unfortunately. The novelization of Godzilla vs. Kong tried its best to like make sense of all these inconsistencies. But even then, still, it is a little bit of a mess. But I mean, if the novelization says it as well, I guess I'll count that as canon.
Well, novelizations aren't always going to be 100%. I was going to say novelizations aren't always 100% accurate to what happens in the movies because they're sometimes based on earlier scripts. I mean, when I covered, say, for example, the Jaws novelizations, the storylines take some drastically different directions. So I like to think that's kind of the case with the Monsterverse novelizations. They take kind of the core elements of it, but, you know, they have their own kind of tweaks of it. So you can't really count the novelizations as canon because it is a different medium. It's another adaptation of the book with kind of some own tweaks and, you know, adjustments and other things like such. But yeah, like I said, I think Mechagodzilla is pretty cool in this thing. I like how he just fucks up Godzilla so badly. Although I did want the fight to be a little bit more even. The fact that Godzilla is just completely ragdolled the entire time, and just for Kong to kind of come in and like get a bunch of hits on him, seemingly with a bit of ease after we just saw Godzilla wipe the floor with Kong. But you could theorize because like Mechagodzilla was basically just designed to fight Godzilla. You know, like I don't mind Godzilla getting his ass kicked in a fight, but we're already, like, for me that works like for the first fight, but then you get to the second fight, I like to be a little bit more evenly matched in a struggle. But I mean, it works for the context of the movie, and it was cool to see him kind of team up and fight against the 5 years of chat about GVK, man. I missed those times. Hashtag shut up, Sean. Thanks for the shut up, Sean. I kind of missed that. But yeah, like I said, it was cool to see, like, you know, the different abilities he has with little tail. Ooh, almost knocked over my microphone there. I'm sorry, it's like 12:20. I've been up like a really long time. But yeah, I like to see what his tail does, and like, you know, he's got like his little like propulsion like punches that he does. He can like rockets coming out of the sides and all that as well. But yeah, like I said, Mechagodzilla is really cool in this thing. It's not my favorite design. I did like how he does like the kiss of death to the Skullcrawler to kind of start things off. I thought that was pretty cool. And he puts up a pretty good fight against both Godzilla and Kong, but, you know, you can't beat the both of them simultaneously. So I do wonder how this Mechagodzilla would have done against, you know, Monsterverse Ghidorah. That would have been an interesting fight to kind of see in something. So I don't know. I just like Mechagodzilla in general. I was so happy to see Mechagodzilla is my favorite Godzilla opponent, I think, overall. Although, you know, we'll see what Space Godzilla does next, because the Monsterverse has really, in a lot of ways, upped the ante for some of its opponents. I would say Mechagodzilla not as much as they did with Ghidorah, probably because Mechagodzilla is like a third act kind of like reveal and not really a presence throughout most of the movie. He's kind of the mystery that they build up to. But I still think like I said, with what Monsterverse did with Ghidorah, I think that's still the best antagonist as of right now. I really hope they deliver with Space Godzilla, because Space Godzilla needs some more love. He hasn't been in a movie since 1994, but has only gained popularity as a result of like games and comic books and all that. And you can do so much with that character. That character needs to come in and just fuck everything up. That's what I want to see in the next movie. But
Sean got the Monarch Files. I haven't gotten that yet. I'm very poor.
yes, man, K's always.
All right,
Thank
let me
you.
talk about Mechagodzilla. Yeah, I do like this version of Mechagodzilla. I agree. Mechagodzilla is my favorite Godzilla opponent. I've talked about this before. I'm a big fan of when characters have
Doppelganger.
either a robotic or evil doppelganger or duplicate. And Mechagodzilla is that. You could also argue Space Godzilla kind of falls into that cliche as well, which, yes, he does, but I've always been just more of a fan of Mechagodzilla. I consider any incarnation of Godzilla, Mechagodzilla is Godzilla's ultimate rival.
Mm-hmm.
And also, over the course of the franchise, any version of Mechagodzilla has either given Godzilla one hell of a beating or has come the closest to killing Godzilla over the course of the franchise. In Mechagodzilla 74 and Terra Mechagodzilla, Mechagodzilla made him bleed and beat the shit out of him. Mechagodzilla 2 from 1993, Mechagodzilla literally did almost kill Godzilla.
Mm-hmm.
In the Kuryu films, Kuryu just whips the living shit out of Godzilla both times. And Monsterverse Mechagodzilla almost does kill Godzilla. But yeah, I love Mechagodzilla's design. Yeah, I agree. It's not my favorite incarnation. I still would say that's Mechagodzilla 2.
Whoa. Somebody says they saw a supernova earlier this year when they tested the film.
I don't want to hear a damn word. Keep your trap shut. If you say anything in the comments, I'm going to ban you from the chat. Zip it.
Okay.
Moving on. Yeah, I agree. It's not my favorite incarnation, but it's Mechagodzilla. I'm not going to complain. I do wish he was in the movie a little bit more, but we'll talk about that later. But his design is still really good. I agree that it does look very distinctly Monsterverse-esque, and it does look like a robotic version of Monsterverse Godzilla, but at the same time, it makes some improvements, which actually I think influenced Godzilla's design for the next movie. But he does have some strange abilities, but they also make sense. I like that his hands can rotate, and they're inspired by people with mirror hand syndrome, where they'll have like two fingers that look like this, and then they look like this on the other side, kind of like chameleons, which that was another inspiration too. But in many ways, this version of Mechagodzilla looks kind of like a prototype. It's very blocky. It's very square and angular, kind of like a throwback to the Showa Mechagodzilla. Also, there were some other influences, like certain. What was the dinosaur transformer from
Dinobots?
G1? The Dinobots from Age of Extinction were also an influence. Grimlock, I think his name is, from the original Transformers, also was an influence. And also the T-800 from the first Terminator film was an influence. What with the red eyes, the red like light patches, and also the chest design on Mechagodzilla looks a little reminiscent to the chest piece for the first Terminator in the first film. I do think his abilities and arsenal are a little too limited for my taste. Really, his only viable attack against kaiju is the Proton Scream, but it's stated to be 10 times as powerful as Godzilla's atomic breath. So maybe that's all he needs. I still do like his powers. He's got missile launchers in his chest and his shoulders. His tail has blades on it, and it can spin like a drill, which I think might have been an homage to the Dragon Zord from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
I have my dagger that's upstairs, but I'm not going to summon the Dragon Zord right now, Nick. I'm too tired.
And I like that he can energize his fists and feet with hollow earth energy.
Yeah, it's kind of wild how that ridiculous Hollow Earth energy thing works. They just scan it and just copy and paste it. I don't know. They you know what it is.
It's still cool, so who the hell cares?
Yeah, fuck it. Who cares? That's
And
that's the
also,
next.
as a fighter, Mechagodzilla is savage. Every single blow that he lands on Godzilla is very hard hitting, and you almost feel it yourself with how hard Mechagodzilla is just slamming into Godzilla left and right, putting him into the ground, throwing him through buildings, dragging him along the ground, making Godzilla almost bleed and recoil and get burned with his proton scream and all the missiles that he fires at him. Mechagodzilla is just going all in. He may be a third act inclusion and like a surprise, like, here you go, here's another monster inclusion, but he makes a strong impression, like every other Mechagodzilla incarnation.
Except the anime
Yep,
one.
anime trilogy.
Fuck that anime trilogy. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, Mechagodzilla is a nice inclusion. Love him.
Okay. Yeah, you know what? I think this. We've kind of said so many pros. I've kind of lost track at this point. So I'm going to go with one that's.
I have
pro.
2 more.
Okay, so this next thing is a pro and also a con. Something we talked about beforehand. This is the score for the film. Now, I say pro and a con, and because a pro, I really like the tracks. Some of the tracks in this movie. I love the opening, the main title credits that we get like at the very beginning. The best credits in the Monsterverse is in GBK because it really hypes it up, like you're getting ready for this big epic fight. It's like, and when it goes like defeated, dun, 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 the title pops up. You're like, yeah, let's fight. New Empires felt a little bit more rushed, but that's for another day. So I like the score there. I like the music when it comes to Kong's theme. I think that's nice and tranquil, and I think it works pretty well. The cons come into the fact that Godzilla's theme just feels like a knockoff Ifukube theme, and it just leaves, after going through the last movie and seeing how absolutely incredible Bear McCreary's music was, arguably one of the top 5 scores in the entire franchise, from my humble opinion. It's tough to pick a number one because it just kind of depends on taste, and he's taking some of the old themes and kind of almost remastering them, kind of updating them a bit, but they were also previously used in something else. How do you judge that? But that score was absolutely astounding. And going from that to this, it definitely is like a major downgrade in terms of, not to say that it's a total disaster, because there's tracks I do like, but why couldn't you have just kept the Godzilla theme over from McCreary? I wish McCreary stayed on to score this movie. I wish he would have come back to do Supernova, but Henry Jackman, who did Kong Skull Island, is doing the music for that film. Which, Kong Skull Island score is probably the least memorable in the Monsterverse for my opinion. The score, Nick, because not kind of like the soundtrack with like.
Well, yeah, you really just remember listening to Paranoia be played when they're dropping seismic charges. That's what I remember.
And like the Hollies, because the Hollies were apparently were the Hollies in GXK, because like the Hollies, like you hear music from them in Kong Skull Island, and then they also end like Godzilla vs. Kong. So it was kind of like how AC/DC used to be there for Iron Man in like every appearance up until they just stopped caring. But
I don't know.
Yeah, but anyways, like I said, the music is both kind of a pro and con for me, because like I said, there's good elements to it, but then there's other things where it's like it feels like a step down, like Godzilla's theme feels like a knockoff. And that's Junkie XL for you. Like, he can do good music, but he also has stuff that just feels like kind of generic at times. But yeah, I do enjoy like the score overall. Like I said, there's a lot that stays memorable, but I wish Bear McCreary would have kept going and scoring the Monsterverse films. He just delivered something so spectacular, and the fact that he hasn't been brought back is just absolutely like astounding to me. Why would you not bring back your best composer? You know what? I stand corrected. He was brought back for one thing, and that's the Operation Monarch trailer that they did. So, but the fact that, they didn't bring back Bear when they really should have is just absolutely ridiculous. So, but yeah, like I said, good pros and cons to other things. So this is hard to hear considering UK is one of my favorite scores. I will always defend Godzilla's theme because it suits the characterization in this film. He is really aggressive, and that's what his theme sounds like. Yeah, I get what you're saying if it's like a heel theme, but when Godzilla makes kind of his face turn again, it's kind of stuck in that sort of like heel theme. Like I said, it's not terrible, but it just going from the Fukabe music to that, it's just why didn't we just keep Godzilla's main theme? I don't know. Like I said, the last score was just one of the best in the entire franchise, and I just kind of want to remain consistent with that. So, but yeah, that's all I really have to say about the score. There's a few moments that stand out to me. I like the bits where like the music kicks in when it's the beam clash is like dun 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 dun, and then Wingard has said that he's not a big orchestral guy himself. He wanted the score to be all synthwave. Yeah, I get that, but you could have done a synthwave like variation of the Fukabe music. I think a lot of people would have come away a little happy as long as you kept that theme, like a synth update for it, because it's not like Junkie XL hasn't done like incorporated classic themes into it. Look at this. He scores the Sonic movies, but he still keeps the like in there somewhere. So he very much could have kept the Fukabe music in this thing. They just chose not to do it. And I just don't understand why you couldn't have kept that in there. Like if you wanted him to do the rest of the score, like Kong's theme and all that too, because Kong hasn't really had the iconic music that Godzilla has. I mean, the original 1933 is memorable, but it hasn't like been as carried through like the Fukabe music has through the different eras of Godzilla. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on the music. And now Nick has left me. But so with that being said, I guess I can kind of get into some of my cons while Nick is off on another adventure. Now, we talked beforehand about the score and some of Godzilla's characterization in this thing, but another con I do have with this one is some of these are kind of tied together. It's kind of more of a missing material thing, which I think therefore affects a lot of other elements within this movie. So I'm going to say like the missing material, which therefore affects things such as like the film feeling pretty rushed at times. I mean, by the time you get to the third act and you're already at the battle, like, wow, we're here already. It feels like a lot more is kind of missing because they're just in such a rush to kind of get to these big epic fight scenes, which, pacing wise, if you want just a quick like breakneck pace movie, you're going to really enjoy this thing. But I would have liked a little bit more of this setup. I would have liked a little bit more kind of breathing room between certain sequences and all that too. I would have liked a little bit more of the character stuff kind of fleshed out and kind of because Monarch almost feels like an afterthought in some ways in this movie. Yeah, they're part of the mission that goes down there, but the scientists, all the stuff beforehand. Lance Reddick has one line in this movie. Apparently he had a lot more. And the movie originally had things kind of set up for like, within the first act, kind of getting things in order and all that too, and some other things. But I think as a result of kind of changing the narratives and kind of cutting things down, you also kind of miss some of the human character elements, which I think would have made those storylines stronger. But, a lot of people just didn't care for that. They just kind of wanted the bare minimum to get to the monster fights. And I understand that to an extent, but we're also sacrificing some interesting story potentials when you get to that point. And the biggest sacrifice, I think, in terms of story potential here was the character of Ren Serizawa. This is the son of Dr. Serizawa, one of the most important human characters in the in the Monsterverse. One of them for sure. Like, he made his big sacrifice to save Godzilla's life. And here we have the son of him in this movie, and they do fucking nothing with
nothing.
And I'm aware that there was a lot of stuff omitted from the movie. Now, Nick, I'm already kind of onto my cons here right now, but I was just
how far are you in? Apologies for all the interruptions. Roman's being a bit of a nightmare tonight.
Well, I said this one, it's kind of this main one, which kind of therefore branches off into everything else right here. And my main thing was the missing material for this movie, which therefore caused the movie.
Hold on. No. I'm going to stop you right there because I have things to say about that too.
Right, but I'm trying to say how it branches off into pretty much everything, like subsequently from that, like from plot holes to like things feeling rushed at times, and the whole entirety of Ren Serizawa's character in this movie, which could have been really interesting because imagine your father loved Godzilla more than you. That could have been something like interesting to play around with, but
I think that is implied.
Right, but we could have used more of it. And I've seen
some confirmation.
Yes. I remember seeing one scene, like the original scene where like they meet Nathan, he's drunk at a bar, and like Ren walks in, he's like, "I believe you knew my father. I am Ren Sarazawa." That something. I don't know. It just I want to see those missing scenes. Release the well, I mean, Wingard's not going to release an extended cut of it, but if they would have just released them on like the Blu-rays or something, like, okay, here you go, here's all the original unedited scenes, you can have them, because we finally got the Akira Takarada scene from 2014, which is only like 20 seconds, but it's still something.
Okay, I have 2 pros left. Pro number 8 are the amazing epic moments that this film has. Again, not quite as good as King of the Monsters, in my opinion, but pretty damn close. Mainly, well, Kong just fucking wrecking the shit of the Warbat is one of my favorite moments. Just capping it off with ripping off the fucker's head. But hell, Godzilla's first fight with Kong in the middle of the ocean, that's an epic moment. Like when Kong just sucker punches Godzilla and then Godzilla bitch slaps Kong, sends him flying. Watching Godzilla just unleash his atomic breath to the hollow earth is one hell of a spectacle. I was like, whoa, hello, this is cool. But my favorite epic moment, Kong killing Mechagodzilla is really cool, but when Godzilla and Kong roar at each other in their faces at the end of round 3, awesome. One of the most epic, entertaining, and satisfying moments of the entire kaiju genre. They showed it off in the trailer quite a bit, and I guessed correctly how that scene would play out in the movie. And I figured, okay, that's probably going to be the end of the actual fight between the two, but who wins? And Godzilla ended up winning. Keeping up the Monsterverse's tradition of giving their monsters real big times to shine, this movie delivers on that in a very satisfying way. And the final pro that I have for Godzilla vs. Kong are the amazing special effects. Really, the only practical effect that we have is the Ghidorah skull. It looks really cool. I would have to agree that's really not how I would have anticipated them utilizing that skull. Like, where's the lower jaw? Where did all that tissue and brain matter and all the flesh that surrounded the skull go?
I remember the commentary, or it was like an interview with Mike Doherty where he talked about it. He's like, he just thought of all the different things you could do with that Ghidorah skull. Like, imagine the flies feasting on his alien blood and how that could affect things. Like, he really thought things through. I think Mike Doherty was like the best in terms of just trying to expand the Monsterverse lore and really kind of paying very carefully close attention to detail and making sure things were kind of consistent from one thing to another. And then they just go batshit crazy in this next movie. But, I feel like there's so many other things you could do with that Ghidorah skull. I always imagined that they just used it to regrow their own Ghidorah. Or maybe that's how they create, like, Destroya in a way. They had the DNA of Ghidorah mixed in with the Oxygen Destroyer. Like, Destroya, Ghidorah.
One theory that I had, because it kind of seemed like they were playing up Godzilla to be the villain in Godzilla vs. Kong in the trailers. And my theory, when it was announced that Mechagodzilla was going to be in it, I thought that they were going to do a big homage to Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla and have Mechagodzilla essentially be the Terminator. He's got a layer of synthetic flesh covering him in order to frame Godzilla to make him look bad so that Mechagodzilla or Kong can come in and kill him. And I would have written that they got that technology from Ghidorah's ability to regrow his flesh in King of the Monsters. Like, they could have given Mechagodzilla one big giant skin graft using like genetic engineering from Ghidorah's head. That's something that I would have done. Even that sounds cool in and of itself. I don't care what you say. But so let's talk about the effects. The effects are fantastic. The motion capture and CG animation and detailing for Godzilla and Kong in their faces is all spectacular, very top notch. Yeah, they probably did have a lot of time to make them look as perfect as they do because of all the delays. So I guess that was a happy accident in and of itself. Um, with how colorful this movie is, the effects for that are all fantastic. Lots of pretty colors and lights. How they showcase the landscape, especially in the Hollow Earth, looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
The CG is very well detailed. When Godzilla's swimming around in the ocean, how the water just cascades off his body and his dorsal plates looks really cool. That might have been an influence on Godzilla -1, possibly, like how the water cascades off
Mhm.
Godzilla's body in the middle of the ocean. The animation for all the fight scenes is all really well done. I don't really think there's any like poor CGI or anything that looks jittery or unfinished or just bad. 155 to 200 million dollars were spent very well on this money or on this movie, and it shows. All the effects are top notch, fantastic. For Kong, well, Kong Skull Island to end this movie, yeah, I would have to agree. This is where Kong looks his best. I don't really think Godzilla's ever looked bad as a CG character, but I mean, his CG model in this movie also does look really solid.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this movie has amazing special effects. And so I have five mixed elements, and the first one is the score. Now, looking past my kind of distaste for so the score for this movie was done by, was it Junkie XL?
Yep, Junkie XL.
Or Tom Holkenborg. I really dislike his attitude towards using Ifukube music. He came off as being extremely dismissive and just kind of like, nah, my music is better. Fuck you. Fuck Ifukube.
Yeah, like I said, he uses like Sonic's theme from the games into his Sonic the Hedgehog score.
I really, don't like that attitude. Now, his music in this movie is really good. Like the opening credits music is awesome. The music that plays during the fight in the middle of the ocean is really good. Mechagodzilla's theme is really good, and the music that plays when Mechagodzilla terrasses his way out of the mountain in Hong Kong is really good. Kong's theme is good too, but Godzilla's theme is very bland and very generic, in my opinion. And sadly, the next movie gets a little worse, in my opinion. Now, again, the music's not bad, but I mean, okay, yeah, it is a big downgrade from King of the Monsters. I don't think any Godzilla movie will ever top, in terms of music, I don't think King of the Monsters will ever be topped or even matched for that matter.
It's tough because I mean, there's been some great scores. -1 has a fantastic score.
Well, as I mentioned in our -1 review, I think it's very generic outside of the reused Ifukube themes. Next
really
element
good.
number 2. Walter Simmons is a very generic villain. Now, actually, there's like another half pro that I'll give to this movie. I like that this movie has quite a bit in common with King Kong Escapes.
It kind of is. It really
Walter
is.
Simmons is Doctor Who. He looks a lot like him. He's got facial hair, but he has like the black and gray, slicked back, almost fro. He has a lot of dark clothing, and he wears like a heavy trench coat.
Can I say something though? Walter Simmons looks exactly like the villain in the movie Recess School's Out.
Never seen that movie.
Oh well. Let's see. Look at that. He looks literally just like him.
Oh yeah, he does. Okay, so that's a little funny.
Voiced by none other than James Woods.
Oh, fitting. The actor who plays Walter Simmons does a serviceable job, But unlike Doctor Who, he's such a fucking paint by numbers evil business tycoon bad guy. You take one look at him and he just screams, "Yeah, I'm a bad guy." Now, Doctor Who kind of has that in King Kong Escapes, but you have the actor's over the top performance to make his character entertaining. The guy who plays Walter Simmons just doesn't have that. Very generic, very basic, very bland, very mustache twirling, I'm evil bad guy. He does have a satisfying death, though. Mixed element number 3. Oh, God. All of this has to do with the biggest problem that this movie has. So I'm going to go through them real quick. I think the pacing is too fast. I like that it's just like go, 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 go. Action scene, world building, action scene, plot development, world building, action scene. I like that, but I don't like how this movie never has a moment to stop and breathe. Unless it's dealing with Kong.
Right.
So there it kind of works. But even then, still, the movie's just go, 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 go.
Mm-hmm.
Mixed element number 4 is the lack of Godzilla.
Even though he has more, like, I think somebody pointed out best, he actually has the most screen time in this movie, but it's the impact of that screen time.
Yeah. Now, he has a lot of epic scenes, of course, when he attacks Florida, when he fights Kong, when he takes on Mechagodzilla, roars in Kong's face, kicks the shit out of Kong. He does cool shit. But this movie, even though Godzilla is the top billed monster, this is a Kong movie. Kind of like Gamera versus Barugan. Gamera is only in it for barely 10 minutes, and it's very much so a Barugan movie. This is a Kong movie. And the last mixed element is I think this movie has a lack of world building. In kind of a Spider-Man 3 / Amazing Spider-Man 2 kind of way, it features all of these really cool ideas, and then it's just in a hurry to move on to the next thing that it wants to show. Here's Hollow Earth. Here's this big giant landscape. Here's the Temple of Kong. Here's all the monsters and super fauna that inhabits Hollow Earth. Okay, we're going to go back to Hong Kong and have Godzilla fight Kong. The next movie does expand on that, sure, but had we not gotten another movie, I would have actually made this a full-blown con, is that there isn't a whole lot of world building.
Mm-hmm.
But that has to do with this film's biggest problem. So let's transition right into our cons. And I'm going to go big for the first outing, like Sean did
Missing
with
material.
Pros. There is way too much cut content. I've come to accept it somewhat, but kind of like with Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom and Predator 2018 and let's see, there was another movie that has this problem too. But just even in its current state, like the movie does work, but you can just tell there was a lot of plot points, there was a lot of details, and there was just a lot of stuff that was chopped out of the movie at the 11th hour, and it doesn't work 100% of the time. And this leads me into con number 2. There's too many unanswered questions. Why does Ren Serizawa ally himself with the villain? There's one out there.
Why does Ren Serizawa align himself with the villain? Cut material.
Yeah, cut material. Where's the second Ghidorah skull? I know it's theorized and confirmed in the novel, but it would be nice to have that confirmed. What happened to all the skin on Ghidorah's skull? Where's the flesh? Where's the blood?
Well, that can decompose.
Where's the lower jaw? Where's all the other monsters? Like, where's Rodan? Where's Methuselah? Where's Behemoth?
Hey, remember it says defeated. Actually, You know what? Let me check the status of some of these monsters in here. See if they're all but gone.
Where's where's all the other monsters? Where's the Mothra egg? Where's Scar King and his tribe? I know that's the next movie, but still, it is a question. Yeah, like retroactively. Yeah, there's just so many plot holes and details and unanswered questions that this movie doesn't answer or even acknowledge. Because, yeah, I would have to agree is that this movie does feel pretty rushed. I don't know why, but it feels incomplete. And it's really, really frustrating. Every time I watch this movie, it's the third act really that where it doesn't lose me, but that's where most of my issues arise. But yeah, I would have to agree at points it feels rushed. It feels incomplete. There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's so many details that feel like noticeably missing, and it's really frustrating and really annoying. Maybe not quite as much as something like Predator 2018 or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, because at least the movie is still entertaining. But that'll lead me into con number 3. Yeah, this movie's too short. The fact that this movie flies by a million miles an hour doesn't help either, but this movie is an hour and 53 minutes. I'm pretty sure it's the shortest of the entire Monsterverse. Now, according to Ryan Boy, as we mentioned in our big Kong ranking video in 2022, now I don't think that there existed a 5-hour cut of this movie. I mean,
Right.
I'd watch it if that was the case, but yeah, I don't think that.
I think like 2.5 hours at least.
So apparently, Adam Wingard's cut, I think, was 2 hours and 45 minutes. And then there was an editor's cut that was 2 hours and 15 minutes. Even that version of the movie, I would have accepted more. But it being only an hour and 53 minutes really does not do it any favors. It needs more. It needs more meat on its bones. It needs more of these questions and details answered. And we just don't have it. And it's really frustrating. Let's see. Yeah. 1, 2. That was 3 cons in and of itself. Yeah, it's too short, too much cut content, and too many unanswered questions. Anything else to add?
Yeah, like I said, the missing material thing kind of goes into things like the Ren Hour, a bit rushed, some plot holes. One other con, or maybe kind of like mixed elements, or whatever you want to call this, I want to add is I'd say Team Godzilla gets kind of the short end of the stick compared to like Team Kong.
Yep, I'd have to agree. I almost
like,
want to say that this movie has Sinister 2 syndrome, and I kind of do think that is the case. Yeah, like why does Kong get to have so much focus in this movie? It's called Godzilla versus Kong. Why not give both monsters equal amount of stuff to do in their own movie?
Missing material. I'm just going to say a lot of the answers probably were in that missing material. Why does Godzilla attack the ships? Allegedly, it was due to the Orca Z being utilized.
Either that, or that was in one of the original scripts, but I think it either in the novelization or in also another script. The reason why Godzilla calls off his attack in the middle of the ocean is because they had tested the Mechagodzilla signal, and Godzilla sensed that, and it was like, oh, wait, nope, there it is. That's what I'm chasing. But in the movie, that's... Well, I do like that they say, we just play dead. Cut the power, cut anything that makes noises, cut the engine. And Godzilla's like, okay, cool. I'm going to walk away now.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it would be nice if there was that added context for a little more confirmation.
Right, from the scripting stage. So, I mean, Wingard's happy with his final cut of the movie, but I mean, you know, what's he going to say? He's very unhappy in the director and the commentary, editing and stuff. I mean, he got to make a Godzilla vs. Kong movie, so he's pretty chill about that. He seems pretty laid back though, like compared to like other people get frustrated with the studio system. He's like, I got to make a movie and do all this cool stuff. So,
yeah, I was gonna add too. Team Godzilla doesn't really have a whole lot to do, and the movie is it's not painfully uninteresting when Team Godzilla's on screen, but I just want to see more Godzilla, man, please. But the big
I
thing
feel
that really hurts the Team Godzilla side of the movie is my next con. I don't like Josh.
shut up, Josh.
Yes, actually, please shut up. He's not funny. He's awkward. He's annoying. He sticks out like a sore thumb, and he's a third wheel. If it was just Madison and Bernie, that would be way more tolerable. But having Josh around, he kills the mood. I'm sorry. I can't fucking stand Josh.
You know what? In the words of Mark Russell,
Shut up, Josh.
Shut up, Josh.
Shut up, Josh. I use that at like Josh, who's like also part of the group as well. So every time Josh says something, I just send that clip to him like, "Shut up, Josh."
And funny you mentioned Mark Russell. That leads me into my next con. This is well, actually no, it's not minor because it actually is. We've been talking about it all throughout this review. This movie does not feel 100% consistent with King of the Monsters. And Mark Russell has a big part of that because it's definitely implied over the course of King of the Monsters that Mark had learned to live with what happened to his family, and he had come to accept Godzilla at worst as like a necessary evil.
Right.
But this movie doesn't. It feels like it's kind of regressing that that character arc. It doesn't help that Mark Russell has very little screen time in this movie. That's another thing that hurts this film with its cut content. Also, Madison too doesn't really regress as a character, but she is not in the movie as much as I think she should be. But yeah, I don't like, and also Godzilla's character in general too, because he'd been established as the king of the monsters, and it'd been established that he is protecting the earth. He's maintaining balance. Now, I do get that you can't have two alpha predators in the same environment and have that environment sustain itself. Like if you were to have an African lion and like the largest tiger species, whatever which one it is, if you were to have those two in the same environment, there would be problems. They can't coexist. Two giant, or like a T-Rex and a Giganotosaurus. If you were to have those two in the same environment, there would be a lot of problems. But why is Godzilla an asshole in this movie?
Because he snapped like at the end of King of the Monsters. Like maybe I try to theorize it, but I feel like we needed a little bit more of an explanation because he kind of just goes mad with power in this movie. I think maybe at the end of the last movie he did. That's why he was just, and then in the next movie he gets even more juiced up and he's on a roid rage. But it just feels kind of inconsistent from the benevolent kind of samurai like character he was before. It just feels like they kind of changed him up just so he could fight Kong.
Now, I could understand because they make it very clear that they're taking Kong as far away from Godzilla as they possibly could. They are adhering to Godzilla's rules as best as they can. But for Godzilla to literally go out of his way to hunt Kong down in the middle of waters that he doesn't go through, it does feel like. Sorry, Roman's being a nightmare, like I said.
Okay.
It just feels a little unnecessary and a bit too mean-spirited on Godzilla's part. And yeah, it doesn't feel 100% consistent, and it's a little annoying. A little.
Right. It kind of undercuts like Serizawa's sacrifice from the last movie too about human coexistence, and then Godzilla's just like angry, angry, angry like the entire time. Like he doesn't get like before he used to like swim alongside boats and all that. Now he just blows everything up. But or even like the scene where he gets out of the water in Hong Kong, he's like, "Fuck this bridge," and just destroys it. Just stands up. He could have avoided it, but he's like, "Nah, I'm fucking destroying this thing."
My last two cons that I have, I don't like the Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla fight when it's just those two. Because, well, for starters, Mechagodzilla is Doomsday from Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm. But set up better, I think.
Set up better, sure, and he does more entertaining and cool shit than Doomsday does in Batman versus Superman. But a similar issue. Now, I get that Doomsday by default is stronger than Superman in some ways, but which is an issue in Batman versus Superman. Superman doesn't land a single good hit against Doomsday, and neither does Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. Now, they explain that Godzilla's worn out and exhausted after 2 rounds with Kong and unleashing all that atomic energy. So he's spent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. I wanted Godzilla to land a couple good hits, like whack Mechagodzilla off his feet with his tail, or maybe tear off one of his hands, or like tear off the tip of his tail. Just do something against Mechagodzilla. But as soon as Mechagodzilla shows up, he just beats the ever-living fuck out of Godzilla. And Godzilla is unable to land a single hit against Mechagodzilla the whole fight. All Godzilla does is stop Mechagodzilla from punching Kong by grabbing one of his arms.
I think it would work better if this was like, it's like the Rocky 3 thing where Rocky, like he gets, actually even then he gets like a hit or two on Clever, but he gets destroyed in the first fight. Then he has to train and come back stronger the second time. There isn't a second thing for Godzilla. I think if he had a second fight with Mechagodzilla, it probably could have gone over a little better. Because even then, like he had this tendency to lose like first fights. Like if you look at the 1974 film, they have that beam clash and he just kind of gets knocked into the water. But you know, Mechagodzilla's kind of damaged too, but you know, Godzilla didn't exactly come away with that like triumphantly. And I think like I said, if they gave him like another fight against him or something, but then again it's like already at like the end of the movie. It just, you know, it needed a little bit more. And not to say that like I don't think Godzilla's should have fights where he gets kind of his ass kicked a little bit, because I think that struggle to overcome that makes the fights more exciting, but he legitimately gets nothing to do in this final fight. Could have liked at least 1 or 2 hits, like he said. If he got like 2 or 3 hits in, then I think it would have been better. So,
and that leads me into my last con for this movie. Now, this is really going to make me sound very fanboyish, but I don't care. I don't like that Kong gets the solo victory against Mechagodzilla.
I wouldn't call it solo victory because Godzilla charges up the axe to help him.
That is the only exception. And the humans, so sure, there is at least some assistance on Godzilla's part.
Don't forget the humans disrupting Mechagodzilla.
Mechagodzilla from punching Kong, and they both like face plant him through that building. So that is cool. But I wanted to see more of that tag team up against Mechagodzilla. And also, as another assist, you could have had that also be one of Godzilla's couple of hits that he gets against Mechagodzilla. Like, to save Kong from Mechagodzilla's tail, Godzilla could have either blown off Mechagodzilla's tail or ripped it off.
Mm-hmm.
Or also blow off one of Mechagodzilla's arms or rip that off too. But, okay, it is cool how Kong kills Mechagodzilla, chopping off all but one of his limbs and then ripping off his head, Mortal Kombat style. It is cool, of course. But I wanted some more assistance from Godzilla.
Right. But you could argue that Kong's axe would not have gotten the job done without being powered up by Godzilla.
Sure, again, that is a nice assist. It's not enough, though. I wanted a little more.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, the next movie doubles down on that problem, too.
Well, I mean, yeah, Godzilla, like, I mean,
We'll talk about that later. So yeah, that's not my biggest issue, but yeah, those are all my cons for Godzilla versus Kong.
okay.
Anything else to add?
Honestly, Nick, we've been talking for 2.5 hours. I'm a little tired right now. I can't think of anything else to really add right now.
Alrighty. So final thoughts on Godzilla versus Kong?
I really enjoyed this movie. I don't know where I'd rank it in terms of the Monsterverse. I mean, King of the Monsters is
Kind
my
of same too.
King of the Monsters is my personal favorite overall because like I kind of go back and forth in different things because sometimes it's like the after that I think I like New Empire as a whole a little bit more than this thing, but I do think like the action sequences are probably a little stronger in this one. But the zero gravity fight and all that is all really cool in the next movie. But you know, sometimes I like things like the cast in Kong Skull Island and other things too. But this thing does things that are more crazy fun and epic than even some of the stuff we saw in Kong Skull Island. So it's kind of tough for me to kind of figure out where to rank this one in the series. It's probably like I want to say maybe like third or fourth in terms of the MonsterVerse movies for me. I think I do enjoy this watching this one a little more than Kong Skull Island. That's my personal opinion. I mean, 2014 is kind of at the bottom, and then after that, I'd probably go Kong Skull Island in this one. But sometimes I kind of switch them back and forth in a way. King of the Monsters remains number one, but I think like New Empire is probably the one I enjoy the second most because I think, like I said, a smaller, more condensed cast of a lot more visual storytelling, nonverbal visual storytelling with the monsters. I think, like I said, that makes it more interesting and all too for me. But yeah, so Godzilla versus Kong. There's a lot of hype going into this thing. It saved movie theaters. I still go back and watch the trailer. I'll probably watch the trailer again after this video, just as like a reiteration of you're going to do the same thing, a reiteration of the hype of this film. But it brought together like two of my favorite like movie monsters once more. This felt like a once in a lifetime special moment. Like waiting for this thing for so long. I mean, the two movies where you wanted to see like the rematch or like the characters come together, like when I was a kid growing up, Batman and Superman finally sharing the screen, and Godzilla and Kong sharing the screen for a rematch. Now just add Gamera into this thing, and then we'll be all set. Which, come on, do something with Gamera. Like that poor turtle has like nothing anymore. But anyways, what I was saying,
yeah, I still maintain that Toho needs to like wrench Gamera away from Kadokawa.
Hey, maybe Legendary can.
No, Toho just in general needs to wrench him away because it's clear that Kadokawa doesn't want to do anything except the bare minimum with Gamera.
Right. So, but yeah, like I said, this is a really fun, like entertaining, like Monster Mash movie. I've gone back and watched it like, you know, a bunch of times over the years. It was fun kind of revisiting it again. It's not perfect. It definitely has its flaws for sure. And I feel like we haven't quite gotten the perfect Monsterverse movie because I think each movie kind of has things that has strengths and weaknesses over the other. And if you took like maybe the best elements from like each one and threw it into something, then you could really have the top tier best like Monsterverse movie. Because like I said, like there's things this movie does better, I think, than King of the Monsters. I think the action sequences are definitely a lot stronger. Now, the epic kind of moments in King of the Monsters, I think, stand out a little bit more. Like when Ghidorah's standing up, like doing his little alpha call on the volcano. The final shot in King of the Monsters is still my favorite final shot in the like in a Godzilla movie. I think just all the Titans kind of bowing. It's just beautiful, magnificent, epic. But this one has something else like totally just feels really cool too. I like that there's kind of like moments where it's like laid back moments with Kong and his characterization quite a bit. The fact that he goes on his own like hero's journey in a way in this thing that kind of carries over into the next film. I think that's awesome. Like to see that for a giant monster. Like he becomes like this big like superhero in a way. And it does so, and it feels kind of natural with like where, you know, we kind of saw him in the beginning and to kind of where he is at like now. So, I mean, that's just And Kong is kind of the Monsterverse equivalent to Batman. I mean, he watched his parents die, and he has all these gadgets and tools and upgrades that he gets from like Lucius Fox, which is basically just Monarch, and he has to kind of fight his way against other things. Even fights against an angry Superman, which is basically just Godzilla with his strength and power ups. I mean, even like it's literally Batman v Superman, but I think done better.
Oh, way better.
Because Mechagodzilla's Doomsday. There's no save Mothra moment in this movie. It comes in the next movie too. So, but yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy Godzilla versus Kong. Is it the best Godzilla film ever made? I wouldn't say so, but it is a very entertaining one, and it brought together two of my favorite movie monsters, and it really helps. It's what saved the Monsterverse. Like, I mean, I got to give Wingard credit. Like, I mean, King of the Monsters, you and I both love it. It's our favorite in the Monsterverse, right? That's your favorite still.
Well,
but
we'll
it was a little
see.
bit. We'll see. But it definitely was a little bit more divisive amongst like general audiences. I think it's gained more of a reputation with the hardcore fans compared to some of the other ones. But this is the one that kind of kept it going because this kind of gave more to the general audience what they kind of wanted to see with these types of movies. And like I said, it provided some entertainment at a time when people kind of needed something fun, a bit of escapism when it came out. So it has a special place in movies for that reason. And it's got scenes that I still go back and watch to this day, like the big Hong Kong fight where Godzilla fires his atomic breath. You see that moment where Kong grabs the axe and he just kind of absorbs it. He's kind of looking and it's like, dun, 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 and all that other stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of out of it a little bit, Nick. So I don't even know if I'm repeating myself over and over again. But
Yeah, you are. Okay.
I enjoy Godzilla versus Kong. It's a fun time. There you go.
My final thoughts for Godzilla versus Kong. I do think that it is a mixed bag. Not as much as I used to, but it is still a mixed bag. It is a very entertaining, high-octane, action-packed monster movie. And while I do think you could have asked for more and you could have done more, what the movie delivers is still very satisfying. If you are a fan of the monsters, this movie will not disappoint you. It does deliver on Godzilla versus Kong. And it is a way better movie than Batman versus Superman, but it does share a couple of the same issues as Batman versus Superman. And unfortunately, it also joins the ranks of films like Predator 2018 and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. It will always be held back by how obviously it is missing a bunch of material. It never, ever, ever will surpass that flaw, and to the point where people will be like, yeah, I know there was a bunch of stuff cut, but I still really love the movie. Now, I really do enjoy this movie, but I am one of those people. Even that 2 hour and 15-minute cut would have been more satisfying than what we have here. It's just not quite enough to warrant, like, if it kept the rest of the film's flaws, like the inconsistency and Josh and
Shut up, Josh.
yeah, right. Shut up, Josh. And all that. If the movie was a little longer and had it kept some of the details and answered some of the questions, I could forgive those. But the fact that so much is missing just adds onto it and makes everything worse. So my final rating for Godzilla versus Kong, I don't remember what I gave it back in 2023. I think it may have been a 7. But I'm going to give Godzilla versus Kong a solid 8 out of 10. It's a good movie. It's a worthy follow-up. It's a worthy entry in the Monsterverse. It's an entertaining as fuck monster movie. It's an amazing Kong movie. It's a decent Godzilla movie. And it's a fantastic monster movie.
You know what, Nick? I would agree with you. 8 out of 10 for me. I guess it's the shirt, right? We're just thinking alike a lot today. Yeah, pretty much we share most of the same opinions on this movie, like pretty much across the board. I think, like you said, it's a fun, entertaining monster movie. It's a fantastic Kong film. It's a decent Godzilla film but it gives a lot of really great kind of Godzilla moments. I mean, look at the background I've had this whole time. I just look at his goofy ass smiling face. I just when he first did that, I just busted out laughing in the theater. But I don't know. I just really have a good time with Godzilla vs Kong. I had a lot of fun revisiting it because I hadn't watched it in a minute. So I kind of want to go back and do another Godzilla binge for the entire series. Sometimes every like couple of years I do that, but I'll probably wait till next year before Supernova and do that. So
all righty. With all that being said, thank you very much for putting up with my numerous interruptions because my son's being a little asshole tonight. Pardon all my interruptions and pardon me leaving Sean in the dust for a few times, but good review, way better review than I did back in the day. Super Kaiju Binge will be continuing, but the next video will not be the new Empire. I got a little something special planned for that. So I'm just going to announce it because these are definitive set in stone plans. Since next week is the 4th of July and Seanie Boy and my other guests that I have in mind are probably going to be busy, join me next time as I tackle a show that I've been wanting to get to for a very long time with my long-awaited review of Godzilla, the animated series. Look forward to that. Sean, anything to plug?
Yeah, I guess you could check out my channel. I got to get back into written reviews. I did finally finish the Monarch Season 2 video where I got every episode kind of compiled into one thing. 4th of July is coming up, so I got some things I'm going to try and work on. I did recently pick up the enhanced edition of Jaws, which is like the NES game kind of remastered with new additional levels, and I do want to do a video on that at some point, and then just kind of put it at the end of my like Jaws week compilation. Just do that as like release that thing like entirely like as a full like video with the complete retrospective. So that's something I kind of want to do. I have a few like written reviews kind of in the works right now. I got some comic book videos I got to get out like hopefully by like tomorrow, like up to, by like Tuesday. I want to get everything kind of done because I'm going like 4th of July is next week and I just want to like enjoy things. Got a few after the movies. I got a video talking about the Monsterverse Monarch files I just posted the other day. So, and a few other projects in the work. G-Fest is coming up, so I'm going to be filming some stuff there. Yeah, like I said, we're already like at the Nick, isn't it crazy? We're already at the halfway point of this year, basically.
Yeah, it's depressing.
Yeah, I know. It hasn't really felt like summer, I feel like. It's finally starting to get warm, but I haven't felt that consistent summer weather because it was cold for so long, and now it's like, oh, wow, we're already like halfway through the year. What have I done? So.
Alrighty. Check out Seanie Boy's channel. Look forward to the next episode of Super Kaiju Binge. And as always, go out and if by any chance you find yourself in the middle of a completely unique, unexplored landscape, and you see a giant winged snake coming towards you, run. And I will see you guys in the next video.